Chapter 1281. Skeleton Army vs Skeleton Army. Lin Mo was slightly stunned when he saw the entities leaping out of the coffin. They were actually skeletons. If the bodies buried in the coffin for hundreds of millions of years had decayed into skeletons, he wouldn't have been surprised. But these skeletons were not like that. They looked exactly the same, with no difference in height, body shape, or head style. Including the bone-forged sabers they held in their hands, it was the same. There was only one possibility that could cause this situation: like his own undead legion, they were also summoned. At the mysterious manor, Lin Mo had seen a skeleton army. However, what he saw at that time was an image, not as shocking as seeing it with his own eyes now. But Lin Mo also noticed that these skeletons were different from his own. They were about 2 meters tall, not very large. Their bones were not pure white, but grayish white. Patches of gray formed special patterns on their bones. Each skeleton had a pattern, and each pattern was exactly the same. The patterns looked like some kind of mysterious rune. Lin Mo knew that these patterns were not randomly generated, but should contain some kind of function. The skeletons that jumped out of the coffin stood opposite his own skeletons. On one side were the grayish-white skeletons with patterns, and on his side were the jade-white skeletons. The two sides formed a sharp contrast. He had already counted that the number of coffins in this cemetery was exactly 100,000. That is to say, there were now 100,000 grayish-white skeletons. Although he didn't know how strong these skeletons were, considering that the god kings who had fallen into this place might have been killed by them, their strength should not be underestimated. The sky above the cemetery was filled with will-o'-the-wisps, making the entire cemetery even more eerie and terrifying. The gray flames above the mountain flickered again, and an invisible force swept across the cemetery. Lin Mo's soul vibrated, and many gray mists suddenly appeared outside the soul world. These mists wrapped around the soul world, almost isolating the connection between the soul and the body. Lin Mo finally understood that if he was killed by the skeletons, dismembered into pieces, and his soul lost the protection of his body, it would be wrapped in these gray mists and become a cemetery cleaner here. That's how the god kings of the past died. The soul was disturbed and suppressed, and less than 1/10 of its power could be exerted. One can imagine how aggrieved they were when they died. If you want to kill me, then try it. Lin Mo made up his mind, and the 9-colored dragon soul crystal roared, shaking away a patch of gray mist. The branches of the talent giant tree were drawn from the soul world, frantically whipping the mist, completely dispersing it. The purple light flowed around the soul body, and the soul was dyed purple. A soul garment appeared outside the soul body, protecting the soul. The soul regained its connection with the body without any obstacles. At this time, the grayish-white skeletons moved, raising their sabers and launching an attack on the skeleton god generals. Lin Mo's heart stirred, and the skeleton god generals immediately counterattacked. For a time, sword energy crisscrossed and saber light swept across the sky. A great battle unfolded in the cemetery. The grayish-white skeletons were very strong, reaching the 3rd rank of God King, on par with the skeleton god generals. Moreover, their number was as high as 100,000, rushing over overwhelmingly, trying to surround Lin Mo to death. If it were any god king, even a 5th-rank god king, facing the flame suppressing the soul and the skeleton siege, they would only have a dead end. However, Lin Mo didn't care at all. He was not afraid of such a scene. A large number of skeleton god generals appeared, and Lin Mo directly released 1,000,000 skeleton god generals, engaging in a battle with the grayish-white skeletons with a 10-fold numerical advantage. The duel of the undead legions was unique. Sword light and saber light collided, laws roared, and the ears were filled with deafening impacts. The intense and majestic energy constantly oscillated in the cemetery. Lin Mo was surrounded by the skeleton god generals, standing still. The power of the skeleton god generals was comparable to that of the grayish-white skeletons, and they had an absolute advantage in number. Gradually, the balance of the battle began to tilt, and the skeleton god generals began to gain the upper hand. The grayish-white skeletons were gradually suppressed. Although they had not yet been defeated, it was only a matter of time. One after another, the grayish-white skeletons were cut off by the skeleton god generals, turning into fragments and falling to the ground. This result was within Lin Mo's expectations. The numerical advantage was irreplaceable. But Lin Mo did not relax his vigilance because of this. There was not only one cemetery, but 8. What if the skeletons from the other 7 cemeteries came to support them? Then there would be a fight. He tried to lock onto the scattered grayish-white skeleton fragments, wanting to use them as materials for corpse explosion. But he failed to lock on. These shattered skeletons could not be used as materials for corpse explosion. But it was not a big problem. He still had a lot of God King level materials on him, enough to use for corpse explosion. Just 1 hour later, the battle came to an end. The grayish-white skeletons were completely surrounded and quickly annihilated, their number decreasing and the speed of annihilation increasing. Fortunately, the worst result did not occur. The skeletons from the other 7 cemeteries did not come to support them. Finally, when the last grayish-white skeleton was chopped into pieces, Lin Mo breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, the gray flames on the mountain flickered again. A mysterious aura swept over, like a gust of wind sweeping through the cemetery. All the scattered skeleton fragments flew into the sky, and the gray patterns on the fragments sparkled. These bone fragments actually combined together, fused together, and formed a new skeleton. This skeleton was 5,000 meters tall, like a god overlooking Lin Mo from above. Lin Mo raised his head, slightly surprised. This skeleton was somewhat similar to the Skeleton King. A Skeleton King spontaneously formed by skeletons. The giant skeleton, 5,000 meters tall, exuded a powerful aura, at least reaching the 6th rank of God King. Lin Mo expressed his respect for this. With a thought, the skeleton throne appeared in the sky. The 10,000-meter tall Skeleton King slowly rose from his throne, draped in a crimson cloak and crowned with a skull, his aura surging forth. 983. In comparison, the 5,000-meter skeleton was nothing. The Skeleton King reigned supreme, looking down upon his opponent. Then, he unleashed a sword strike. Technique: Godslayer. The 5,000-meter skeleton didn't even have time to react before being torn to shreds by the Skeleton King. Countless fragments of the skeleton rained down like droplets. Before they could land, the gray light within the mountain flickered once more. Instantly, all the shattered fragments recombined, reforming into gray-white skeletons wielding great swords. They appeared unscathed, identical to when they first appeared. Just as Lin Mo was bracing himself for another battle, the gray-white skeletons simultaneously turned into gray light, returning to their coffins. Subsequently, the coffin lids slammed shut with an ear-piercing screech, sealing once again. The gray flames continued to flicker, and a line of fire shot down from the sky, forming a bright band of light in the air. Beneath the band of light, a path appeared. A small path paved with black gravel. Gray flames burned on both sides of the path, as if guiding Lin Mo forward. At this moment, the gray mist outside Lin Mo's soul world completely dissipated, as if to tell Lin Mo that the danger had passed. Lin Mo first had a skeleton god general step onto the gravel path to sense it carefully for a moment, and after confirming it was safe, he stepped onto it himself. The scene before his eyes abruptly changed, the graveyard disappeared, and the distant mountains rapidly approached, no longer distant. At the same time, cheers erupted in his ears. Chapter 1282. More like a small world dungeon. The gray flames burned on both sides of the gravel path. Cheers and applause emanated from the gray flames. Walking on the gravel path, Lin Mo felt like a victorious general, welcomed by countless people lining the streets. The previously distant mountains were now close at hand. Lin Mo walked along the gravel path, heading towards the mountains. The gravel path soon came to an end, and he arrived at the foot of the mountain. Presented before him was a staircase leading up the mountain. The steps were also paved with black gravel, and gray flames continued to burn on both sides, guiding him. Looking up at the top of the mountain, gray fireballs blazed atop, like stars illuminating the surroundings. He guessed that many secrets might lie atop the mountain, where answers could be found. As he stepped onto the first step, an invisible force landed on him. The force was not strong. With his true God realm peak body, he easily withstood it. However, this force also landed in the soul world, transforming into a war blade that struck the crystal barrier of the soul world with a heavy blow. The crystal barrier was equally strong, withstanding the blow without budging. It's not that simple after all. To climb the mountain, one must undergo some trials. Every time Lin Mo took a step, the gray flames on the mountain would flicker, and a force would fall, simultaneously striking his body and soul. As Lin Mo climbed higher, the falling force continuously increased, hindering his progress. Helplessly, Lin Mo's physical strength and soul were too powerful, and he ignored the attacks hindering his progress, steadfastly climbing the mountain. Doubts filled Lin Mo's mind. He had felt it before in the mysterious manner. The mysterious manner gave him the feeling of a dungeon instance in a small world. One checkpoint after another, one trial after another. He hadn't thought much about it then, but now the ancient graveyard gave him that feeling again, and upon reflection, Lin Mo sensed something was amiss. Since the Great World, he had experienced several secret realms and visited many places. Whether it was the secret realms in the virtual world of the Human Emperor Network or the secret realms in reality, although there were trials, they had their own characteristics of the Great World, completely different from the dungeons in the small world. However, the mysterious manor and the ancient graveyard gave him the feeling of being in a small world, completely different from the secret realms in the Great World. This was very strange. Normally, small worlds exist based on the Great World, although independent, most of the rules inside are similar to the Great World. His understanding of the small world was also like this. But his small world seemed very special. Especially with Antares guarding the small world, and when leaving the small world, there were divine sovereigns surrounding it. Antares said that a treasure had fallen into the small world, leading to this situation. But now, upon reflection, it didn't seem so simple. Among those divine sovereigns, some were mortal enemies of the human race, but they didn't attack him immediately. Looking back now, there must have been some kind of constraint that prevented them from directly killing him. After pondering for a moment, Lin Mo thought of the blue-clad old man riding a green ox. He could appear in the primordial secret realm and give him the primordial rune. Lin Mo couldn't imagine how high his level was. Moreover, even Antares didn't dare mention his name and even told him not to think about it. Lin Mo wasn't completely ignorant anymore. He had seen the existence of the divine sovereign peak and even had contact with existences stronger than the divine realm. Lin Mo felt that Antares was at least a divine sovereign, and a very strong one at that. Perhaps Antares had even surpassed the divine sovereign. Yet, he still didn't dare mention the name of the old man on the green ox. Could it be that existence? Lin Mo shook his head, and the image of the old man that was about to form in his mind instantly shattered. He remembered Antares' warning and didn't think about the old man's appearance. That existence was too powerful, so powerful that he didn't even have the right to think about him. What is the connection between the existences of the ancient era and my small world? Why are my techniques completely different from others, out of place? But the basic laws of the law follow the laws of the great world. As he learned more, the mysteries in his heart grew larger. Lin Mo desperately wanted to get answers, just like constantly asking Antares in the small world. Unfortunately, Antares wasn't here, and he couldn't find anyone to ask. As for Zhu Qiwu and Zhu Tian, although they were good to him and were very good seniors, they weren't close enough to talk about everything. Unknowingly, Lin Mo endured another fierce attack. This attack was unprecedentedly strong, and his physical strength was already close to the peak of the true god. Even his body felt pain. The attack carried inexplicable laws, not purely physical attacks, and he couldn't achieve immunity. The soul attack was the same. Under the huge impact, the soul world shook. The crystal barrier still stubbornly blocked the attack of the illusory war blade. He finally stepped onto the top of the mountain, and his body suddenly felt lighter. Color returned, and the world before him was no longer gray-white. His vision returned to normal, and his soul perception also recovered. It was like the mist had cleared, revealing the sun. On the top of the mountain, a gray flame burned fiercely. The flame wasn't as huge as it looked from a distance, its diameter was actually no more than 10 meters. Below the flame was a huge square pool. A huge torch stood in the pool, reaching 100 meters in height, and the flame was burning in the torch. In front of the pool, there was a throne. The throne's width matched the pool's, about 30 meters. Its height was about 10 meters. One could imagine how large the figure of the person who usually sat on it would be. The pitch-black throne was engraved with numerous skull patterns, each skull lifelike, appearing extremely eerie and sinister under the illumination of the gray flames. Lin Mo Yu watched this arrangement from afar, imagining how the person sitting on the throne issued orders back then. Lin Mo Yu didn't walk over. His gaze swept past the throne, attracted by a coffin on the left side of the throne. This was a huge coffin, about 5 meters high but exceeding 40 meters in length. The coffin was not closed, the lid lay casually to the side. The coffin was equally exquisite, covered with skulls, just like those on the throne, vividly lifelike. However, the coffin was white, while the throne was pitch black, forming a stark contrast with a strong visual impact. Lin Mo Yu guessed that the owner of this coffin should be the owner of the throne. The coffin might be his resting place. After the battle just now, he felt that the owner of the throne was most likely also a skeleton. A powerful skeleton. Lin Moyu slowly ascended, seeing that the inside of the coffin was empty. The owner of the throne is not here. Has he fallen, or has he left? Lin Moyu, filled with doubt, saw several bones on the throne. Not only were there bones on the throne, but fragments of bones were also scattered on the ground of the mountaintop. Boom! Gray flames exploded in the air, a massive force swept over, instantly suppressing him to the ground. Chapter 1283. Follow me to conquer, suppress the rebellion. Gray flames rose from the throne. The gray flame that was originally on top of the torch flew onto the throne covered with skulls at some point. The throne became more conspicuous in the flames, the skulls on it each revealing fierce light in their eyes. The skulls had no eyes, but Lin Moyu had this feeling. When the flames enveloped the throne, the skulls carved on the throne possessed the soul fire, they seemed to be resurrected. Each skull seemed to be watching him. If it were someone else, they would have been scared out of their wits long ago. But Lin Moyu had been with skeletons since he changed jobs, and the situation before him was nothing. The skulls stared at Lin Moyu, and Lin Moyu also stared at the skulls, with interest in his eyes. The throne continuously emitted majestic power, enveloping the high mountain and the cemetery. Immediately afterward, the bones scattered on the throne moved. The bones flew up and combined together in the flames. The mere 10 bones could not form a complete shape. But the flames turned into the remaining parts, forming an outline. Lin Moyu saw a giant skeleton composed of a small half of bones and mostly of flames. It sat on the throne, merging with the throne, and a vast pressure spread out, pressing on Lin Moyu's heart. The space on the mountaintop seemed to enter a solidified state. Not only was the airspace here restricted, but even movement became difficult. The space was like a solid, and even the slightest movement required enormous power. The skeleton on the throne swept his gaze across the mountaintop with majestic eyes. Kneel! A huge voice rang out, and a massive force fell on Lin Moyu, trying to press him down, to make him kneel. How could Lin Moyu kneel? Relying on his powerful physique, he stood stubbornly. Lin Moyu stood straight. No matter how strong the force pressing on him was, it could not bend his body. The flame skeleton on the throne was noble, majestic, and difficult to look at directly. But at this moment, Lin Moyu appeared even more upright. The sound of landing came from his ears, countless flames fell in the air, and the bones on the ground continuously flew up and combined, turning into flame skeletons, kneeling on the ground. Only then did Lin Moyu realize that this, kneel, was not said to him, but to these skeletons. He also understood what was happening at this moment. This is a scene from countless years ago. In that era, this general-like figure issued orders here. Those in the cemetery's coffins are all his subordinates, his soldiers. This is not just a tomb, but also a barracks, a fortress of war. The gray flames, along with the throne, showed Lin Moyu the situation of that year. At this time, the general on the throne issued a hoarse but majestic voice. The great battle is imminent, all realms rebel, you shall follow me to conquer and suppress the rebellion. The skeletons kneeling on the ground shouted in unison, suppress the rebellion. Suppress the rebellion. Suppress the rebellion. The huge sound came from the mountain, spreading throughout the entire cemetery. The sound of these 2 words constantly echoed in Lin Moyu's ears. Immediately afterward, at the foot of the mountain, in the cemetery, a huge roar also came back. The general's words received a strong response from the soldiers. One could imagine that at this time, the coffins in the cemetery must be wide open, and the soldiers were passionate and excited. Even Lin Moyu was infected by the surrounding emotions at this time, his heart surged, and his expression was slightly excited. But quickly, he realized something was wrong and quickly smoothed out his emotions. Under excited emotions, people will lose their calm and composure. This state may improve combat power, but overall, it is not a good thing. Regaining his composure, Lin Moyu thought about what the skeleton general said. The great battle is imminent. Who is the great battle with? Combining the scenes seen in the mysterious manor, the skeleton in front of him and the owner of the mysterious manor should be of the same lineage. Then their enemy is self-evident. The human race. Their enemy is the human race. The mysterious manor was invaded by the human race. But then he changed his mind, and Lin Moyu realized that he was not thinking entirely correctly. It may not necessarily be the human race, it may also be a race that looks like the human race. In the great world, There are many races that have 8 or 9 similarities with the human race. Like the starry sky fishmen race, the starry sky celestial race, and some other races, their appearance is extremely similar to the human race. So in the mysterious manner, Lin Mo Yu cannot completely confirm that the invaders are the human race. It can only be said that it is a race similar to the human race. But no matter what race it is, there is no doubt that the skeleton general wants to take his soldiers to conquer. All realms rebel, who does all realms refer to? Are all realms individual small worlds, or individual races? As far as he knows, the ancestral lands of various powerful races are independent worlds created by the great powers of the race. So it is not impossible to call them all realms. Based on this sentence alone, Lin Mo Yu guessed some information, but not much. According to the skeleton general, all realms rebel, indicating that these, all realms, were previously attached to them. Otherwise, there would be no rebellion. The Undead Legion here is not a frontline combat army, but an army to suppress the rebellion. So in Lin Mo Yu's understanding, although this is also an army, it is more of an internal guard, internal rather than external. They will only take action when the regular army cannot spare the time. That is to say, their combat power is not top-notch, at least there is some gap between them and the frontline regular combat army. The scene gradually quieted down, the sounds of eating and drinking disappeared, the flames on the mountaintop gradually extinguished, and the white bones scattered across the ground once more. The figure on the skeleton throne also vanished, and although the flames weren't completely extinguished, they were much smaller than before. The oppressive force that had been pressing down also disappeared at this moment, and the space was no longer frozen or viscous. They went on an expedition. Lin Mo thought to himself. What happened just now should have been something that happened in the past. This ball of gray flame recorded what happened back then and replayed it here. Lin Mo slowly moved forward, walking to the side of the huge coffin. The coffin was very tall, incredibly tall. He had already looked at it before, and there was nothing inside the coffin. If the coffin was where the skeleton general usually rested, then the result of this expedition was self-evident: the skeleton general did not return. But the skeletons inside the coffins in the cemetery still existed. The two seemed to contradict each other. Lin Mo looked at the coffin, which was carved with lifelike skeleton patterns. The entire coffin exuded a rich aura of death, a very pure aura of death. There were no laws of death from the great world, and it was exactly the same as the aura of death in the mysterious manner. After countless years, the coffin was still intact. The erosion of time had not left any traces on it. The material of the coffins used by the soldiers was similar to that of the ancient tombs. The material of the skeleton general's coffin was more advanced than both, so advanced that Lin Mo could not reach it. I'm afraid even God Venerable level materials are not this advanced. Back then, what kind of existence was worthy of having such materials? The more advanced the material, the more precious and rare it is. Truly advanced materials are not something that just anyone is qualified to use. At this moment, the sky suddenly lit up, and the throne that had just dimmed was burning fiercely again. A huge hole appeared in the sky, and countless fiery meteors flew out of the hole, falling like raindrops. Among the meteors were a large number of bones. Chapter 1284. A Grand Play, Cause and Effect. The meteors of fire in the sky were all phantoms. Lin Mo didn't dodge or avoid them, watching quietly. The fire meteors crashed on the mountaintop, on the mountainside, and in the cemetery at the foot of the mountain. The fire meteors were dense and endless, and the whole world was raining fire. The meteors exploded on the mountaintop, blasting out a large number of bones, scattering them on the ground. It was the same on the mountaintop and in the cemetery. The entire cemetery was covered with bones, none of them intact. This was the scene from back then. The bones on the mountaintop came from this. Lin Mo's heart was startled. That expedition seemed to have failed. Those who went out were complete skeletons, but those who returned were only bones. At the end of the fire rain meteors, a fire meteor much larger than the others fell from the sky, heavily hitting the throne. The heavy pressure swept across the mountaintop again, and the skeleton general reappeared on the throne. Lin Mo could feel the change in the skeleton general, from being spirited when he set out, to now carrying a twilight aura. The hoarse and dignified voice sounded again: "The enemy is strong, we cannot resist. The responsibility for this defeat lies with me, you are not at fault. I will cover you with the undying flame to help you be reborn. I will slumber, waiting for the call of my master. Throughout the heavens and the myriad realms, the endless beings, only my master is eternal. His voice echoed throughout the cemetery, the flames exploded, and the entire cemetery was burning fiercely. The bones were reorganized one after another, and nearly 1,000,000 skeleton soldiers in the cemetery were collectively reborn. Lin Mo once again heard the deafening shouts. Master is eternal. Master is eternal. The shouts were endless, shaking the soul. Lin Mo was once again infected, and also wanted to say, Master is eternal. After resurrecting all the skeletons, the skeleton general's aura became even weaker. Resurrecting these skeletons exhausted most of his strength. His body began to collapse, and the flames covering his body began to weaken. Only then could it be seen clearly that the skeleton general in the flames only had a small half of his body. The incomplete bones barely maintained his body. As seen before, 80% of his body was flames, and only a dozen or so bones. Enter the coffin. He issued a new order, and the cemetery instantly became silent. All the skeletons entered their coffins and began to slumber. The skeleton general's aura became increasingly weak. He looked at his own coffin, and finally shook his head and did not go up. He raised his head and looked into the distant sky. For some reason, Lin Mo felt that at this moment, the skeleton general was like an old man in his twilight years. Master, I have done my best. I will slumber, waiting for revival. May there be a day when I can fight alongside my master, traversing all realms. May there be a day when the rebellious clans of all realms will suffer heavenly disasters, destroying their clans and realms. May the glory of the master illuminate all realms. After saying these words, he seemed to have exhausted all his strength and shattered with a bang. A dozen or so bones scattered on the skeleton throne, just as Lin Mo had seen before. All the flames disappeared, recondensing into a ball of gray flame in the air. The scene before him disappeared, and everything returned to calm. After watching the entire process, Lin Mo seemed to have witnessed a piece of history. He knew the origins of this high mountain and this cemetery. The soldiers in the cemetery had died, but were resurrected by the skeleton general. Over the countless years, these soldiers had loyally carried out the task of guarding the cemetery. If the skeleton general hadn't saved them, perhaps he would still have hope of surviving. Even if he slumbered, it could greatly shorten the time of slumber. But the skeleton general chose to sacrifice himself to save the soldiers. Listening to his last words, he attributed all the blame for this failure to himself. The failure belonged only to himself, and hope belonged to the soldiers. He's a good general. Lin Mo sighed softly from the bottom of his heart. Having been a general before, he knew how difficult this kind of self-sacrifice was. It could be said that there wouldn't be one like this among 1,000 generals. Then he raised his head, looking at the gray flame burning in the torch. The scene just now was presented to him by the gray flame, and the meaning of the gray flame's existence must be more than this. Lin Mo looked at it, reciting word by word, undying flame. Just now, the skeleton general had mentioned the name of the gray flame. It was called the Undying Flame, the same name as the Undying Flame in Lin Mo's spells. It was with the power of the Undying Flames that he was able to save all the skeletons. They shared the same name, but there were actually some differences. Lin Mo's Undying Flames were two-toned, gray and white, with gray representing death and white representing life. But the Undying Flames before him were purely gray, filled with the power of death. However, the power of death was a great tonic for the skeletons. Skeletons were originally undead creatures, and what they loved most was the power of death. The power of life was poison to them. Another connection, Lin Mo thought to himself, always feeling that the mysterious manor, the ancient tomb, and his own spells were connected. Now, the appearance of the Undying Flames had deepened the connection between them. He walked to the side of the skeleton throne, leapt gently, and jumped directly onto the throne. 0A request fresh flowers A. The throne was very large, making him look small standing on it. He saw a few bones. He hadn't noticed from afar, but upon closer inspection, each bone was larger than himself. Countless years had passed, but the skeleton general still hadn't come back to life. If the skeleton general were still alive and knew that his throne was being stepped on like this, he would probably slap him to death directly. He came to the side of a bone, which belonged to the head, slightly curved, and it was impossible to tell which part of the head it was. The bone was 3 meters long and nearly 1 meter thick. Years of erosion had not turned the bones into sand, but had made them more crystal clear. Lin Mo even sensed a trace of life from the bones. Lin Mo's expression changed slightly. The bones belonged to the skeleton general, filled with the aura of death. But in the depths of the bones, there was indeed a hint of life spreading. The skeleton general was really not dead, and he really had a chance to come back to life. It was just that no one could say for sure how much time it would take. 10,000 years, a million years, or even longer. Lin Mo stepped over the bones and continued to walk forward. In the blink of an eye, he walked more than 10 meters and arrived at the center of the throne. This was where the skeleton general sat, the place where he sat before going to war. Lin Mo had seen something different here when he flew into the air before. Now that he came here, Lin Mo did see something different. A piece of animal skin. Another piece of animal skin. Lin Mo muttered to himself, exactly the same as the animal skin found in the mysterious manner. The animal skin was not important, what was important was the text recorded on it. This piece of animal skin was very large, larger than any piece of animal skin Lin Mo had ever obtained. It was normal for the animal skin to be large. With the skeleton general's size, it would be unreasonable if the animal skin was too small. Lin Mo took out the animal skin. The animal skin was square, about 1 meter in length. Lin Mo took it in his hand and examined the text on the animal skin. Over time, the text had faded slightly, but it was still recognizable. This is the 32,643rd year that I have been the leader of the guard army. 32,643 years ago, my master, recognizing my merits, bestowed upon me spiritual intelligence and transformed me into the skeleton general. This kindness and virtue are hard to repay even in death. Now my master is about to face a great enemy, with the 6 realms, led by heaven, rebelling at the same time. As my master's most loyal servant, suppressing the rebellion is urgent. But knowing that this battle is dangerous, I leave this technique. If I die in battle, the successor will obtain this technique and continue to serve my master to the death. Chapter 1285, The Art of Domination, Enlightenment and Spiritual Awakening. The animal skin recorded the reason for the skeleton general's expedition. When his master was in a life and death battle with a great enemy, the 6 realms, led by heaven, rebelled at the same time. He went to suppress the rebellion, but returned in failure. Knowing that he might encounter misfortune, he specially left a technique. According to him, this technique was personally bestowed by his master, but he had also practiced it for many years before he could master it. If he died, he hoped that his successor could master this technique. This technique is called domination. He was not worried that the technique would be leaked, because this technique was aimed at the undead legion. Even if others obtained this technique, it would be useless without a corresponding undead legion. Through his message, Lin Mo also understood one thing. Not only him, but even this cemetery was bestowed by his master. Lin Mo guessed right, the cemetery was indeed a military camp. The entire ancient tomb was actually a mobile fortress, 870. And the key to manipulating this ancient tomb was on the undying flames not far away. The undying flames were the core of the entire cemetery. Domination. Lin Mo carefully studied this technique. The more he studied, the more shocked he became. This technique was completely different from the techniques in the great world. To use domination, you first need to designate a leader. Then allocate the corresponding undead legion to the leader's name to form an independent legion. Domination was not cast by Lin Mo, but by the leader designated by Lin Mo. This leader could dominate the power of the entire legion, gather the power of the entire legion together, and exert combat power far exceeding individuals. How is it a bit similar to the Lich General's technique? But the Lich General does not have the ability to gather the power of the legion, and it is a bit like the Skeleton King. Lin Mo thought in his heart that, according to the technique, he could create one legion after another. Then, in battle, he only needed to issue orders to the legion leader, and the legion leader would automatically complete the rest. Because the legion leaders had intelligence, they would think independently and choose the most suitable combat method. Moreover, the legion leaders were extremely loyal and there was no possibility of betrayal. Lin Mo couldn't wait to try this technique. If the technique's effect is really so good, I can completely divide the undead legion independently, with each legion performing its own duties, and even forming battle formations. Yes, battle formations. Lin Mo's eyes lit up, he thought of the demons, battle formations. He clearly had data advantages and individual strength far surpassing the demons. But once the demons formed battle formations, he could do nothing about them. The domination technique gave him hope. Lin Mo immediately memorized the usage method of the calligraphy. The animal skin said that domination was only effective against undead legions and needed to be used in conjunction with the undying flames. He had both of these. The first step is to enlighten the skeletons. The first thing Lin Mo thought of was the skeleton god warriors. As his level continued to increase, the most basic skeleton god warriors had not been used for a long time. The enemies he faced were too powerful, and the skeleton god warriors were unable to do what they wanted. So Lin Mo first chose the skeleton god warrior. A skeleton god warrior appeared in front of Lin Mo, and Lin Mo, following the method recorded on the animal skin, guided the emergence of undead flames. At the same time, Lin Mo separated a wisp of his soul to enter the undead flame, making the undead flame more soulful with the injection of his soul. Then, Lin Mo pressed the undead flame onto the skull's head. Red and fierce light emerged from the skeleton's eyes, and the soul flame pulsated violently. The undead flame quickly enveloped the skeleton, burning fiercely. Lin Mo constantly sensed the situation of the skeleton god warrior, and he found a hint of agility in the skeleton god warrior's soul flame. Effective. Lin Mo was delighted. To enlighten intelligence and bestow wisdom was a high-level feat, yet he, a mere true god realm cultivator, could accomplish it. He was clearly overjoyed. With a soft sound, the skeleton god warrior shattered on the spot. Limbs and bones were scattered all over the ground. Subsequently, the undead spell was activated, and the skeleton god warrior quickly revived. Failed. Lin Mo was slightly stunned. It was clearly about to succeed, but it suddenly failed, failing without any warning. Lin Mo refused to believe it and tried a few more times, but the results were the same. He sighed. It seemed that the skeleton god warrior would not work. If the skeleton god warrior didn't work, he guessed that the skeleton soul archer and the skeleton god mage wouldn't work either. These three types of skeletons were all basic skeletons, with little difference between them. He tried it and found that this was indeed the case. None of the three basic skeletons could have their intelligence awakened. Among the summons, the remaining ones were the Lich General, the Elemental Lich, the Death Knight, the Bone Dragon, and the Undead Rebirth. Among them, the Lich General and the Elemental Lich were both undead creatures, but they did not belong to the skeleton category. Not to mention Undead Rebirth, the resurrected beings originally possessed the wisdom of their previous lives, so there was no need to awaken their intelligence. However, Undead Rebirth had many restrictions, especially the inability to exist for a long time. Although the Death Knight and the Bone Dragon also belonged to the skeleton category, Lin Mo always felt that something was wrong. Both of them were warriors, good at charging, but commanding. Suddenly, Lin Mo's eyes lit up, and a tall figure appeared beside him. A Lich General appeared beside him. The spell doesn't require it to be a skeleton. The Lich General, whose fusion degree had exceeded 100%, was 10 meters tall. He wore a leather armor and his muscles were extremely developed, full of oppression. Since his appearance, the Lich General had always been used by Lin Mo as a medic. Apart from occasionally using him as a meat shield, he had never let him fight enemies head-on. At first, it was because the Lich General had no combat power. Apart from having the best physique, he was useless in everything else. Later, the Lich General gained combat power, but by that time, Lin Mo had long been accustomed to letting the Lich General act as a medic. He had almost forgotten that the Lich General possessed the ability to command skeletons when he first appeared. Lin Mo stood on the throne, and the Lich General stood below the throne, his head reaching just to Lin Mo's waist. Separating a wisp of his soul and integrating it into the undead flame, Lin Mo then followed the method in the spell and integrated the undead flame into the Lich General's soul. At the same time, Lin Mo carefully sensed the Lich General's changes. In the Lich General's body, a soul flame was extremely vigorous, far exceeding the three basic skeletons. Now, with the addition of the undead flame, the soul flame became even more vigorous. As the two merged, a wisp of Lin Mo's soul also merged into it. The Lich General's soul suddenly became agile. Lin Mo's expression was also serious at this moment. The three basic skeletons had all collapsed at this step. But this time, the Lich General's soul did not collapse. His soul flame became more vigorous than before, and a true sense of agility appeared. The aura on the Lich General's body was constantly rising, and his power was rapidly increasing. In his sight, the Lich General's body was growing larger. In just a few minutes, the Lich General's height had increased from the original 10 meters to 100 meters. The 100-meter-tall Lich General was like a mountain, and he stood there, occupying almost half of the mountaintop. Lin Mo thought, it seems a bit too big. As soon as this thought arose, the Lich General immediately began to shrink, returning to its original height of 10 meters. The Lich General knelt on the ground, kowtowing to Lin Mo, and at the same time, a heavy voice sounded, "Your subordinate greets the Master, thank you Master for enlightening me." Chapter 1286, Evolution. Legion Ruler. Lin Mo was overjoyed, it had really succeeded. This Lich General had become completely different from before. But the art of command was not over, enlightening was only the first step. The second step was to transform it with undead flames, turning it into a true ruler. The Skeleton General had experienced this step before, and his master had personally transformed him. However, he remembered the steps of the transformation and recorded them in detail. The transformation required undead flames, and only his master could control undead flames. So he was not worried at all that someone would obtain the spell and be able to complete the art of command. Except for his master, the art of command was useless garbage to others. But coincidentally, Lin Mo controlled the undead flames. Even if there were some differences, Lin Mo felt that it could still be used. Undead flames flew out from his palm and landed on the Lich General, transforming it. The leather armor on the Lich General's body turned to ashes in the undead flames, revealing his dark and sturdy body. Under the leather armor, his muscles bulged, containing immense power. Then, stripes appeared on his body, the stripes were also gray and white, and contained the characteristics of the undead law. The stripes formed a complex and mysterious rune, the rune shone brightly, weaving out a gray and white armor. The armor covered the Lich General's entire body, making him even more burly. In his hand, a huge thick-backed battle blade appeared. The blade was sharp, constantly emitting a sharp aura, and even Lin Mo felt a slight pain in his skin. Lin Mo could feel that the Lich General had undergone a huge change, and his combat power had greatly increased. But at the same time, Lin Mo also frowned, the Lich General had become different, although he was still his summon and completely obeyed his orders. But he also had wisdom, like an independent individual. He could no longer take the Lich General back into the spell star. Headache. Lin Mo didn't expect such a thing to happen, and his head became twice as big. Just as he was thinking about a solution, the infinite fusion spell moved slightly. It wrapped all the spell stars, including the spell star that summoned the Lich General. At this time, it moved slightly, and an invisible force fell on the transformed Lich General. It fused the aura on the summoned Lich General spell star with the Lich General in front of him. The two auras merged into one, indistinguishable from each other. The previous induction returned again, and the transformed Lich General once again became Lin Mo's summon, and could be taken back into the spell star at any time. Lin Mo was overjoyed, he didn't expect infinite fusion to have such an effect. It really is infinite fusion, spells and laws can be fused. Lin Mo breathed a sigh of relief, and all his worries were gone. The infinite fusion spell didn't move after moving slightly. It had absorbed the mysterious iron block given by Shu Jiangxing not long ago, and had not moved since then. Lin Mo knew that it was absorbing the mysterious iron block, and this time it only moved slightly, like a sleeping person turning over and continuing to sleep. Infinite Fusiona is the most mysterious of all his spells, and Lin Moyu has not been able to grasp its effect. However, Lin Moyu knows it is very strong. If used well, it may be the strongest of all his spells. When I have time in the future, I must study it carefully. His gaze returned to the Lich General to check his attributes. A Legion Rulera. A level. 3rd Order God Kinga. A commanded units. 100,000 A. A ability. Commanda. A command. Can command the undead legion and form an independent army. A1. Can heal his own commanded legions or other undead, including poison damage, soul damage, physical damage, and various abnormal states. The healing effect will be weakened accordingly when healing other undead. A2. Can resurrect his own ruled legion with the help of undying flames. A3. Strengthen the commanded legion. The more members in the commanded legion, the stronger the bonus. A4. Can gather the power of the entire legion to deliver a fatal blow, with a cooldown time of 10 minutes. The Lich General has evolved and become a new summon. First, the name has changed, from Lich General to Legion Ruler. The name alone can distinguish the two. It is not surprising that the name changes. Seeing the 3rd Order God King level is also normal. Then, seeing the ability to command, Lin Moyu was stunned. This command ability is not the same as described on the animal skin. The command on the animal skin is not so powerful, at least not the first and third abilities. Immediately, he understood that this was the Lich General's previous ability. Originally, under the transformation of the command spell, this ability may not have been retained. However, the appearance of A Infinite Fusion not only retained the previous ability but also amplified it. The healing ability has changed. The effect of healing his own legion is very different from healing other undead. For his own legion, the healing power is greatly increased and is all-round healing. The effect of healing other undead will be weakened several times. But as long as there are enough legion rulers, weakening the effect is not a problem. This characteristic allows the legion ruler to fight alone or in groups, taking both into account. Secondly, it can also resurrect its own legion, and the material needed is Undying Flame. Lin Moyu has plenty of Undying Flames. Although the power is not as good as the torch, he can give as much as needed in terms of quantity. Lin Moyu roughly estimated that the combat power of the legion he commands will be very different from that of the legion without command. The mutual bonus between members alone is enough to overwhelm the uncommanded legion. Now he has to consider what kind of legion to hand over to him for command. The ideal state is naturally the Skeleton God General. However, the Skeleton God General is not a basic summon and does not exist normally. It will only be fused when needed. After thinking about it, Lin Moyu decided to hand over the Bone Dragon to 003 for command first. Because the Skeleton God General is too strong, the Death Dragon Knight does not have many opportunities to appear in the war. Handing over the Bone Dragon to him will not affect his rhythm. Lin Moyu's heart moved, and 100,000 bone dragons were allocated to his name. The Legion ruler bowed to Lin Moyu again. I am willing to die for the Master, please name the Legion for the Master. Lin Moyu thought for a while and was too lazy to think of a too complicated name. There will be many such legions in the future. There are as many as 1 million Lich Generals in the spell star to be transformed. If each legion has to be named, his soul will explode. He directly imitated the naming method of the human race. You will be called Ruler Number 1, and the legion will be called Undead No. 1 Army. Ruler Number 1 had no doubt and bowed again. Thank you, Master, for giving the name. Lin Moyu originally wanted to test the combat power of Ruler Number 1, but the undying flame on the torch suddenly vibrated. A hole appeared beside it, and a drop of extremely concentrated water of death flowed out of the hole. The water of death accurately landed on the throne, exactly on the incomplete skeleton. The skeleton instantly absorbed the water of death and emitted a faint glow. Under Lin Moyu's gaze, the skeleton suddenly grew larger, and the aura it emitted became sharper. Lin Moyu was suddenly shocked. All the experiences after entering the ancient tomb rushed together at this moment. He finally understood what the ancient tomb was doing. Chapter 1287 Playing with skeletons all day long but being played to death by skeletons. The ancient tomb has appeared on the battlefield for 10,000 years. It absorbs the law of death on the battlefield, absorbs the power of all those who died in this area, and takes them for its own. The fountain has accumulated enough power, from dry to respraying. The undying flame has accumulated enough power and began to nourish the bones of the skeleton general on the throne. The skeleton is growing, and the deepest vitality is gestating. It is going to be resurrected. Not only is the skeleton general going to be resurrected, but the entire cemetery, this tomb for war, is going to be resurrected. Thinking of this, Lin Moyu jumped up and jumped from the throne to the coffin. Standing on the wide edge of the coffin, he carefully looked into the coffin. I remember when the flaming meteor scene appeared just now, a ball of flame happened to hit the coffin. And he had seen the coffin before, and there was nothing in the coffin. The two do not match. Now guessing the skeleton general, the true purpose of the ancient tomb, Lin Moyu could not help but check the coffin again. If the skeleton general is to be resurrected, he still lacks the most important thing, which is the soul fire. Soul fire is the foundation of skeletons, and its meaning is the same as the soul of living beings. Soul fire is also the core of whether the skeleton general can be resurrected. The coffin is empty, and you can see the end at a glance. Except for some gray powder, there is nothing. The gray powder seems to be what was brought down by the ball of flaming meteor that hit the coffin in the previous picture. Lin Moyu cannot be sure about this. He sensed carefully. After a few seconds, his gaze moved and finally fell on the torch behind the throne. Rising along the torch, he saw the undying flame at the top. A skeleton appeared beside him, connecting to the undead vision. The color of the world changed, the undying flame gradually dimmed, and a soul fire in the center of the flame was beating vigorously and fiercely. It's actually here. The soul fire of the skeleton general really exists, but it does not exist in the coffin, not on the throne, but in the undying flame. He uses undying flames to warm his soul fire. Before truly resurrecting, he will only follow the rules before sleeping. Just like the skeleton soldiers in the cemetery, they guard the cemetery according to the rules before sleeping. Lin Moyu did not know what level the skeleton soldiers in the cemetery were in that era. Now they are third-order god kings, but they were definitely more than that back then. Otherwise, what qualifications would a mere third-order god king have to quell the rebellion? It would be more like delivering food. Because the suppression failed back then, the skeleton general was defeated and died, and the skeleton soldiers were killed and injured. Although they were resurrected later due to secret methods, the entire skeleton army was no longer as powerful as it was back then. If he goes down now, the skeleton general will be resurrected at some point in the future, and the skeleton army will have a backbone again. In that case, they could also recover in a very short period of time. At that time, what the situation within the battlefield would become was really hard to say. Lin Moyu wasn't clear about how strong the skeleton general was, but just the fact that he could exist for countless years was something that even divine venerables couldn't compare to. If such an existence were to revive, it would have a very large impact on the entire battlefield. Just as Lin Moyu saw the soul fire began to pulsate violently. It seemed to sense Lin Moyu's gaze. Lin Moyu's heart pounded violently, and an immense sense of danger arose from the bottom of his heart, sweeping through his body and filling his soul. He had never felt this way before, not even when facing the second doppelganger of the Abyss Dragon Demon, did he feel such a danger. Lin Moyu felt that he was going to die. This was the skeleton general's soul fire. He wasn't revived, he didn't have consciousness, it was just his own crying that triggered his counterattack. This was an instinct, but this instinct was already strong enough to kill him. Lin Moyu felt as if he was being stared at by a ferocious beast from ancient times, locked on tightly, unable to escape. Gray flames flickered, and a ray of fire fell, landing on Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu couldn't move, unable to dodge, and instantly turned into a fireman. The gray flame, which was the undead flame mentioned by the skeleton general, possessed a rich aura of death, almost the same as the power of death in the undead laws. However, Lin Moyu was surprised to find that the undead flame didn't cause any harm to him. It wasn't that the passive magic immunity ability took effect, the gray flame contained powerful laws, and the magic immunity ability was useless at all. What truly allowed him to be immune to harm was the undead laws. His whole body was filled with undead laws, and the undead laws seemed to form a barrier, blocking the gray flame. The undead flame mentioned by the skeleton general really has something to do with my undead laws. Even if they aren't exactly the same, there must be a great connection. Lin Moyu's heart sank, his connection with the mysterious manor and the ancient tomb deepened once again. This wasn't a good thing, but it also stirred his curiosity. The danger still existed, and Lin Moyu still couldn't move. A vast power enveloped him, suppressing him. Outside their soul world, a huge skull appeared. This was the skeleton general's consciousness. He wanted to annihilate the person who dared to pry into him. The skull roared, and red light suddenly emerged from its empty eyes, like two sharp swords piercing the crystal barrier. The soul world trembled violently, and the crystal barrier made a creaking sound, and a large number of cracks quickly appeared on it. Lin Moyu's soul suddenly opened its eyes. This was only the second time he had encountered such a powerful soul attack. The first time was with the Buddhist Kongwen Buddha, but at that time he was still very weak, and his soul world was also very weak. But now he was already a 4th grade peak soul, with Jade Soul giving birth to Purple, and ordinary divine venerables couldn't easily break his soul defense. The skeleton general did it easily, and this was only the skeleton general's instinctive consciousness. Lin Moyu's soul power quickly boiled, maintaining the soul world. At the same time, he was horrified. The skeleton general's strength was truly terrifying, probably already surpassing divine venerable. The soul is the foundation, and how strong the strength is can be seen from the soul. Lin Moyu tried his best to maintain the soul world, and the cracks on the crystal barrier continued to expand. The talent giant tree stretched out from the soul world, and countless branches lashed towards the skull. The red light exploded, and the branches of the talent giant tree were instantly cut to pieces by the red light. The talent giant tree shrank back in pain. The gap between the two was too great. The 9-colored dragon soul crystal let out a violent dragon roar, and a phantom of a divine dragon appeared outside the soul world, spewing dragon breath towards the skull. The skull separated a ray of red light and swept over, as if it glanced at it. The phantom of the divine dragon instantly collapsed, and the 9-colored dragon soul crystal seemed to have suffered a heavy blow, and shrank back like the talent giant tree. Lin Moyu felt a little despair in his heart. The talent giant tree and the 9-colored dragon soul crystal were defeated too quickly, they were simply crushed. I 1/2, how can this be good? I 1/4, am I going to die here? Playing with skeletons all day long, but being killed by skeletons. Lin Moyu inexplicably had such an idea in his mind, feeling a little ridiculous. But in the next second, he strengthened his belief. He could die, but he couldn't die so easily. He could still fight. The talent giant tree couldn't do it, the 9-colored dragon soul crystal couldn't do it, he still had his soul body. This was his home field, and his soul body was very strong. The soul body pointed its finger, and the soul-slaying sword flew out, slashing towards the skull. The soul-slaying sword roared away, its power extraordinary. A red light turned and hit the soul-slaying sword. With a bang, the soul-slaying sword flew back. Lin Moyu's soul suddenly stood up, his soul power boiling. In the soul world, a large number of skeletons appeared, and at the same time, the skeleton king also appeared. The undead legion couldn't appear in reality, but it could still appear in the soul world. However, facing the skeleton general, Lin Moyu didn't have confidence. At this time, the cataclysm staff in the soul body's hand suddenly burst into a bright light. Chapter 1288. You have to study the cataclysm staff carefully. The cataclysm staff burst into a bright light, and the soul gem on it shone brightly. The purple light enveloped the entire soul world. The cracked crystal barrier was quickly repaired. And a layer of purple light also permeated the crystal barrier, easily blocking the skull's attack. The purple light surged again, enveloping the skull, and the skull suddenly trembled and shattered. At this moment, Lin Moyu regained control of his body. The wings of the undead instantly opened, and he rushed straight into the sky. Directly above the gray flame, thousands of meters in the air, there was an inconspicuous small hole. Lin Moyu had discovered this hole a long time ago, and the hole appeared when the fire meteor fell. The hole was hidden in the air and was not obvious. Later, Lin Moyu observed it silently, and his soul power tried to penetrate into it, feeling the aura from the outside world from inside the hole. This was the exit of the ancient tomb. The teleportation talisman should be useless here, and Lin Moyu didn't even try it. If the teleportation talisman was useful, those divine kings wouldn't be trapped and killed here, becoming cemetery cleaners. Therefore, after entering this place, Lin Moyu had been looking for the exit. Until the flame meteor appeared, and a huge hole appeared in the sky. That was the image of the ancient times, but it was actually a real picture. The hole quickly shrank in the flame meteor, but it didn't disappear completely. Lin Moyu didn't dare to look back and rushed 883 into the hole. The scene changed, and when his vision recovered, Lin Moyu found that he had come to the bottom of the third passage, in front of the high wall. He faced the high tide, and behind him was a thick black mist. Lin Moyu didn't even think about it and directly took out the teleportation talisman and activated it. This was the time to use the teleportation talisman. The teleportation talisman emitted a soft light and enveloped Lin Moyu, and then Lin Moyu's figure disappeared in the ancient tomb. The center of the cemetery, on the mountain. The undead flame was still burning fiercely. The soul fire in the center of the undead flame rhythmically pulsated, and a consciousness was gradually awakening. Staff, staff, a voice, like a murmur, drifted out, like a sleep-talking dream. As the voice echoed, the skeleton on the massive throne also began to glow brilliantly. Undead flames dripped with black water of death, falling onto the skeleton, causing it to regenerate and revive at an even faster rate than before. Outside the ancient tomb, Lin Mo suddenly appeared. He then took out the War King Tower, transformed into a stream of light, and flew towards the distance. At this moment, he had no other thoughts but to leave the ancient tomb. In case that skeleton general came after him, he would surely die. Only after flying hundreds of millions of kilometers did he slowly breathe a sigh of relief. If it hadn't been for the sudden activation of the Scourge Scepter, he would have been in real danger. The battle in the soul world was even more perilous than in the real world. Although his undead army was large in number, he really wasn't confident that he could deal with the skull transformed by the skeleton general. Even if it was just the skeleton general's most basic consciousness, it was still so. Lin Mo realized that he didn't understand the Scourge Scepter at all, nor did he understand the Soul Stone on it. He only knew that it was a super treasure of the same level as the Great World Rune, but he had no idea what its specific function was or how to use it. The Soul Stone seemed to strengthen soul defense, but he knew nothing about its other functions. This time, the Scourge Scepter took the initiative to help him escape. It seems I need to take some time to study it carefully. But my realm is too low right now, I don't know if I can research a magic weapon of this level. Lin Mo calculated in his mind. Cultivators all know that the higher the level of a magic weapon, the better, it must match oneself. Just like a true god, it is difficult to drive a magic weapon of the Divine King realm. Even if they can use it, they can't exert much power. The realm of the magic weapon must match one's own realm. Lin Mo knew that the level of the Scourge Scepter was very high, and his realm was far from enough to drive the Scourge Scepter, so he had never studied it in depth. Lin Mo thought about the scene he saw in the ancient tomb and his various speculations. He wondered if he should tell Zhu Qiwu about the situation inside. After thinking for a long time, Lin Mo finally decided to tell Zhu Qiwu about the ancient tomb. As for what Zhu Qiwu would do, that was not something he could control. At least there would be some preparation, in case the skeleton army in the ancient tomb really revived, the human race would have some preparation. Unknowingly, Lin Mo returned to Forward Base 7 to 10, then transited through Fortress 7, and returned to Fortress 1. Only the Human Emperor network in Fortress 1 could directly send information to Zhu Qiwu. There were only 2 words in the message: something's up. As long as the message was sent, it would eventually reach Zhu Qiwu. Lin Mo didn't care about the process in between. Lin Mo wasn't worried that Zhu Qiwu would ignore him. As the saying goes, the fewer the words, the bigger the matter. Zhu Qiwu would definitely come to him. Lin Mo went straight to the mission center to hand in the mission. The 4th mission was completed, and he should have chosen a combat-oriented mission. But the 4th mission was not combat-oriented, which was an incorrect choice. However, Lin Mo didn't care much about this. He believed that his mission score would not be low. Even if this mission didn't have extra points, other missions would be enough to make up for it. Entering the Divine City was his goal, but there were many ways to achieve this goal. Lin Mo was no longer as cautious as when he first entered the battlefield. As his combat power became stronger and his level became higher, Lin Mo's confidence became more and more sufficient. He knew very well the results pursued by the human race's various regulations. If even a combat power like him could not enter the Divine City, then probably no one in the entire human race could enter the Divine City. He had seen geniuses from the Divine City, like Qingji and Dao Ren, like Xu Jiangxing, who were all born in the Divine City. They were indeed geniuses, at least fighting beyond their level, or even fighting across realms. But compared to himself, they seemed to be quite a bit behind. Lin Mo was now confident that he could kill Xu Jiangxing in seconds. If he and Qingji and Dao Ren were in the same realm, he could also beat Qingji and Dao Ren. So at the mission level, he could relax a little and not pursue perfection too much. After waiting in line for a while, he successfully handed in the mission and received 5,000 points. There were no extra rewards this time, and Lin Mo didn't continue to accept new missions. During the time he handed in the mission, he had already received information from Zhu Qiwu. Leaving the mission center, he saw Zhu Qiwu standing outside. People were coming and going around, seemingly ignoring him, treating Zhu Qiwu as if he didn't exist. Lin Mo was not surprised. He stepped forward and greeted, "Greetings, senior." Zhu Qiwu asked, "Is it about the ancient tomb?" Lin Mo nodded slightly, "Yes." He was not surprised that Zhu Qiwu knew. With Zhu Qiwu's authority, he could find out what mission Lin Mo had accepted with a casual check, so he could judge what Lin Mo had done. Zhu Qiwu's expression was also a bit serious at this time. "Follow me." Lin Mo remained silent, followed behind Zhu Qiwu, and walked into the military area. Chapter 1289, Waiting for a Sad Result. The noise gradually disappeared, and the surroundings became quiet. Occasionally, soldiers could be seen passing by. Whether they were alone or in groups, they were silent. They wore battle armor, their figures were tall and straight, and they exuded a completely different aura from ordinary cultivators. This was the military area, and ordinary cultivators did not have permission to enter. Even if Lin Mo possessed the title of glory, he could not enter whenever he wanted. After all, it was just a title, not a real soldier. Enjoying some privileges was still different from being a real soldier. But now with Zhu Qiwu leading the way, it could be said that he was unimpeded here. Zhu Qiwu walked very fast, and the two quickly arrived at the center of the area. A cyan gray building came into view, a square house, not very tall. Lin Mo felt an unusual aura from the top of the house, making him feel a little dangerous. That kind of danger, like a needle, pricked him, making Lin Mo's skin faintly ache. Around this house were even taller buildings, hiding it. Even in the sky above the fortress, if you didn't look carefully, you would ignore its existence. Zhu Qiwu noticed the change in Lin Mo's expression, and smiled. That is the core of the fortress, the starry sky great array is engraved on the roof. Zhu Qiwu didn't say anything more, he believed that Lin Mo could understand. Lin Mo just hummed lightly, and didn't ask any more questions. The Starry Sky Fortress was a powerful weapon of war, and once it was fully operational, its combat power was very terrifying. Countless secrets were hidden in the Starry Sky Fortress. Sometimes, knowing too much is not a good thing. Zhu Qiwu suddenly asked, "Boy, aren't you curious this time?" Lin Mo shook his head. Curiosity killed the cat. Zhu Qiwu couldn't help but laugh, shaking his head gently. He knew that Lin Mo had a sense of propriety, knowing what to ask and what not to ask. The two walked into this low core house of the fortress, and in the center of the house, there was a huge rectangular conference table. There were 9 positions on each side of the table, and a main position in front. The Legion commander of Fortress No. 1, Ke Yuanjin, sat in the first seat on the left-hand side of the main seat. An old man sat on the right-hand side of the main seat, whom Lin Moyu did not recognize. But he knew that this old man's status should be extraordinary, most likely an elder from Fortress No. 1. Zhu Qiwu pointed to the empty seat. "Just find a seat." As he spoke, he went directly to the main seat and sat down. Lin Moyu was not polite either, and came to the second seat on the left-hand side, sitting next to Ke Yuanjin. Zhu Qiwu said, "Ke Yuanjin, Legion commander of Fortress No. 1. Lin Moyu hummed and said to Ke Yuanjin, "Senior, long time no see." The two had met twice before, and they could be considered familiar with each other. Zhu Qiwu then pointed to the white-clothed old man on the right-hand side and said, "Bai Qishan, elder of Fortress No. 1. Lin Moyu greeted Bai Qishan, "Greetings, Elder Bai." Bai Qishan nodded slightly towards Lin Moyu, "Little friend Lin, you don't need to be so polite. Each fortress has 4 elders, so it's not surprising that he's here." But Lin Moyu was a little strange. Why only one of the 4 elders came? Could it be that this elder Bai Qishan is related to the ancient tomb? Zhu Qiwu said, "Elder Bai's only son went to the ancient tomb and failed to return." Lin Moyu thought to himself, as expected. He guessed that Bai Qishan appeared here because he was related to the ancient tomb. Lin Moyu looked at Ke Yuanjin again. Ke Yuanjin smiled bitterly, "My personal disciple also went to the ancient tomb." Lin Moyu couldn't help but say, "They are all divine kings, right?" Bai Qishan and Ke Yuanjin nodded at the same time. Lin Moyu sighed softly, "My condolences." Although they had guessed that this would be the answer, their expressions changed at the same time. A trace of sadness appeared in the eyes of both of them, especially Bai Qishan. That was his only son, Bai Qishan, a dignified god exalted, and his eyes immediately became moist. Who says heroes don't shed tears? It's just that the time hasn't come to be sad. Lin Moyu's words shattered his last hope. Zhu Qiwu coughed lightly, "Tell me the details." Lin Moyu looked at Ke Yuanjin and Bai Qishan. He felt that death was already a blow, and if they were told that their souls were imprisoned and would forever remain in the cemetery, it would be another blow. Bai Qishan suppressed the grief in his heart and said in a low voice, "It's okay, little friend Lin, just tell us." Ke Yuanjin also said, "We want to know the real situation even more." Lin Moyu told them what he knew. When he spoke of the souls imprisoned in the cemetery, Bai Qishan couldn't help but burst into tears. The sadness in Ke Yuanjin's eyes grew stronger, his fists clenched tightly, trembling slightly, making cracking sounds. They never expected that after waiting for so many years, what they got back was such a result. A sad result. True curiosity killed the divine king. Zhu Qiwu sighed softly, "The mystery of the ancient tomb has been solved." In that situation, ordinary divine kings only have a dead end. The implication was that only someone like Lin Moyu had a chance to survive. Regarding this matter, Zhu Qiwu will report it to the Human Emperor Network, and the mission will change at that time. Looking at the silent Ke Yuanjin and Bai Qishan, Zhu Qiwu said again, "You two are also dignified God exalted, so think more about the matters of life and death. Regarding the matter of the souls in the cemetery, I will talk about it later to see if there is a chance." Bai Qishan's eyes suddenly lit up. "You mean?" Zhu Qiwu nodded, but did not answer directly. Ke Yuanjin respectfully saluted Zhu Qiwu. "Thank you, town guardian." Zhu Qiwu waved his hand. "I called you here to give you an answer. Now you can leave first. I have something to say to this brat alone. ... 0. The two did not hesitate and quickly got up and left. Before leaving, both of them did not forget to thank Lin Moyu. Although it was a sad result, at least they knew the result. They did not doubt what Lin Moyu said. Lin Moyu did not need to lie. Moreover, it is difficult to lie in front of a god exalted. After the two left, Zhu Qiwu tapped the table lightly. The door of the house slammed shut, and Zhu Qiwu glanced at Lin Moyu. "Continue, finish your story." Lin Moyu had only said how he entered the cemetery and how he discovered the imprisoned Divine King cleaners, but he did not say what happened after passing the test. It was also possible that he returned directly after passing the test, perhaps he could get some benefits. But Zhu Qiwu felt that things would not be so simple. Lin Moyu would not be in a hurry to find him just for this little thing. The fewer the words, the more the things. Zhu Qiwu also thought so. Lin Moyu said, "There are 8 cemeteries in total, surrounding the central mountain. After passing the test, I entered the central mountain. I climbed to the top of the mountain and saw some scenes from the ancient times." Lin Moyu told him about the scenes displayed by the undying flame, and also mentioned the huge coffin, the throne, and the skeleton general who wanted to be resurrected. But he concealed the matter of the animal skin. At this time, the animal skin had been taken away by him, and no one would see the animal skin after entering, which belonged to the death without proof. As long as he doesn't say it, no one will know. No, the skeleton general knows. But will the skeleton general say it? Zhu Qiwu's brows furrowed even tighter, and his voice became solemn. "You mean, it's preparing to resurrect?" Lin Moyu corrected Zhu Qiwu's words. "It's not preparing to resurrect, it's already in the process of resurrecting." Zhu Qiwu looked at Lin Moyu, signaling him to continue. Lin Moyu told him all his thoughts, saying resurrection is not accurate, it should be said that he has never died, but was seriously injured and fell into a deep sleep. More accurately, it should be said that he is recovering. When he was sleeping, he had been accumulating power through the ancient tomb. Now he has accumulated enough power and officially began to recover. This can be seen from the previously dry fountain, but now the fountain has begun to spew out water again, and what it spews out is directly the water of death. Zhu Qiwu said in a deep voice, "Then if all the water of death in the fountain is taken away, can it be stopped from recovering?" Lin Moyu shook his head. "I have thought about this, but I don't think it will work, for 3 reasons. The first reason is that the water of death is not spewing out because he wants to recover, but because he has accumulated too much power, overflowing, so it will spew out again. The second reason is that I had a soul collision with him. Although it was only his instinctive consciousness, I was completely defeated. If it wasn't for good luck, I would have died there. I can feel that his soul is complete and very powerful. The third reason is that the water of death in the fountain cannot be taken away at all. Anyway, I don't have this ability. You can find someone else to try, maybe it will be useful." Zhu Qiwu fell into deep thought again. What Lin Moyu said made sense, the first reason was completely valid. He seemed to have reversed the causal relationship. But this reason does not have a big impact, the results are the same. The second reason made Zhu Qiwu feel tricky. He knew Lin Moyu's soul. The peak of the 4th grade, the jade soul gives birth to purple. It can be said that Lin Moyu's soul has reached the limit of the God-exalted realm. Although the soul power is not as good as the God-exalted realm, ordinary God-exalted cannot kill Lin Moyu at the soul level. Even if it was him, it would take a little effort to erase Lin Moyu at the soul level, and he would have to use some soul-level killers. In terms of soul, Lin Moyu belongs to the degree of insufficient attack and more than enough self-preservation. But even so, he was completely defeated, indicating that the other party completely crushed Lin Moyu in terms of soul. This also shows from the side that the other party's strength is very, very strong. At his level, the soul is the most important thing. As long as the soul is complete, the physical body can be reshaped, which is not difficult. He also concluded that as long as the other party's soul recovers, it won't be long before they truly recover. As for the last reason, it's actually nothing. Because it was already said in the first reason that the water of death is a redundant product. So the last reason is more like an addition. Zhu Qiwu said in a deep voice, are there any omissions? Lin Moyu thought for a while, confirmed that he had not missed anything, and then asked, Senior, I have some questions I want to ask. Zhu Qiwu hummed, ask away. Having just received such important news from Lin Moyu, he was now too embarrassed to refuse. Lin Moyu also seized on this point to take the opportunity to ask questions. Lin Moyu thought for a while, he knew that there were limited questions, so he shouldn't ask unimportant questions. But similarly, important matters should not be asked either, because Zhu Qiwu would not tell him even if he asked. Asking questions in this way was very subtle. After thinking for a while, Lin Moyu raised his question, I want to know something about the ancient times. Zhu Qiwu snorted, is your curiosity acting up again? Lin Moyu smiled and did not speak. Zhu Qiwu asked, what do you want to know? Lin Moyu said, anything is fine, just pick something I can listen to. Zhu Qiwu stared at Lin Moyu for a full 2 seconds, you kid, you're getting more and more slippery. Lin Moyu once again corrected Zhu Qiwu's words, this isn't being slippery, it should be a little clever. Although I'm very curious, I can also grasp the boundaries. Of course, in front of you, Senior, my little cleverness is nothing. Lin Moyu handed the initiative to Zhu Qiwu, what could be said and what could not be said was decided by Zhu Qiwu. The information about the ancient times in the Human Emperor network is blank. Perhaps some information can be found with higher permissions, but Lin Moyu knew that the really important information would definitely not be available for viewing in the Human Emperor network. Zhu Qiwu was in a high position, as the supreme commander of the Vermilion Bird battlefield, and there were also some things in the Vermilion Bird battlefield that were related to the ancient times. In addition to the mysterious manner before, and the mysterious person Zhu Qiwu took him to see. The brief conversation with the mysterious person. Lin Moyu was certain that Zhu Qiwu must know some secrets of the ancient times. Lin Moyu wanted to analyze from his narration, and then combine it with the information he had, to infer other things from one instance. He was now very sure that he had some connection with a certain power from the ancient times. In case in the ancient times, the side that controlled the skeletons had a great war with the human race, or even a life and death war. Then how would the higher-ups of the human race view him, who possessed this power? But this kind of thing could not be asked, so he could only analyze and guess through some things. Zhu Qiwu smiled, okay, then I'll tell you something about the ancient times. Lin Moyu immediately perked up his ears and listened. Zhu Qiwu closed his eyes and pondered, he seemed to be considering what could be said and what could not be said. After a few breaths, Zhu Qiwu's voice slowly came out, the ancient times were a very ancient era. If you want to know about the ancient times, you must first distinguish the eras. We divide time into the primordial era, the ancient era, the recent era, and the present. The present era belongs to the war god Shao Zhantian. The time before Shao Zhantian, about 50,000 to 100,000 years, is the recent era. It was the appearance of Shao Zhantian that ended the recent era. The time of the ancient era is untraceable. I once studied it carefully and came to the conclusion that it was about 500,000 to several million years, not completely accurate. As for the primordial era, that's even more distant, let's not mention it. Many things happen in each era, often ending because of a huge disaster. It could be a natural disaster or a man-made disaster. In the ancient era, there seems to have been a great war, with a very wide scope of impact. It was also that great war that led to a great disaster, truly ending the era. Hearing this, Lin Moyu couldn't help but ask, is it a disaster similar to that of war god Shao Zhan? Zhu Qiwu denied Lin Moyu's words, no, it was a disaster far greater than that one. It is said that after that disaster, the great world was almost destroyed, and it took countless years to recover. The races in the great world also almost died out, and not many survived. It is precisely because of this that the various races have very little information about the ancient times, and can only see some clues in the scarce information. We don't know the reason for that great war, and by we, I mean all races. Perhaps the dragon race has some information from the ancient times, but there definitely won't be too much. Zhu Qiwu spoke slowly, word by word. Lin Moyu listened carefully with his ears perked up. He rarely asked questions, unless he couldn't help it. Zhu Qiwu also spoke very carefully, telling everything he could, without any concealment. Chapter 1291. Some things, don't say. In the restaurant of Fortress Number 1, the sounds of dining could be heard in the ears. Lin Mo Yu chose a corner by the window, looking at the starry sky outside, watching the starlight that had traveled through countless light years. His mind was still thinking about what Zhu Qiwu had said before. Zhu Qiwu said a lot. He said everything he knew about the ancient times, those parts that could be said. According to Zhu Qiwu, Lin Mo Yu would be able to see this information when he became a god venerable in the future, but it would take some time to collect and summarize it. And he had kneaded this information into a ball, cleaned it up, and told Lin Mo Yu. Lin Mo Yu could see that Zhu Qiwu was actually very interested in the ancient times as well. Zhu Qiwu's curiosity was no less than his own, otherwise he wouldn't have collected and sorted out the things of the ancient times. A waiter brought up several exquisite dishes, along with a pot of wine. Lin Mo Yu took a sip. The wine was clear and refreshing, the aroma was not strong, but it was very long-lasting. The wine exploded in the body, turning into a clear stream, sweeping the whole body. Immediately, an invisible law flowed to the soul, and the soul felt like a clear spring falling, and the thoughts became clearer. The wine was called clear spirit wine, and it was brewed from a plant called clear spirit grass in the number 4 to 33 area of the Vermilion Bird battlefield. This wine is very special, containing special laws that directly act on the soul. Drinking a small amount can clear the mind and help to think about problems. But if you drink too much, the thoughts will become chaotic for a period of time, and you will not be able to concentrate on thinking about problems. This law does not cause any substantial damage, so it will not stimulate the soul's defense mechanism. With the help of clear spirit wine, Lin Mo Yu began to combine what Zhu Qiwu had said with the information he had, and integrate them. Gradually, some things of the ancient times began to become clear. First of all, it can be affirmed that his profession, spells, and even laws, must be related to the ancient times. An unimaginable disaster occurred in the ancient times, and the entire great world changed because of it. In such a great disaster, races perished and the world almost collapsed. In the face of such a great disaster, it is not surprising that any major changes occur in the world. Laws changed, old races perished, and new races were born. It is no longer easy to distinguish whether the later human race is the human race of the ancient times. And Zhu Qiwu's recommendation, the strong men of the ancient times, would definitely find a way to save themselves. Those confusions that appear in the battlefield area today, those things that belong to the ancient times, may be the independent worlds opened up by the strong men of the ancient times. Those independent worlds survived the great disaster and have survived to this day. Lin Mo Yu knew that Zhu Qiwu definitely had some hidden information that he had not revealed. What can and cannot be said is up to Zhu Qiwu, not himself. From Zhu Qiwu's words, Lin Mo Yu still grasped some very important information. For example, when Zhu Qiwu referred to the ancient tomb and the skeleton general, he used the word, they. It was, they, not, he. This shows that there are definitely others like the skeleton general. There are really people from the ancient times who have lived to this day. People who have lived from Shao Zontian's era to the present do exist. Almost every powerful race has old monsters who have survived from ancient times. Shao Zontian is most likely still alive. After all, at their level, living for 100,000 years is not a rare thing. But living from ancient times to the present is a bit surprising. To be able to survive the great disaster and live to this day, their strength must be unimaginably strong. When the Qing wine in the wine pot was nearing empty, Lin Mo Yu had already sorted out all the information. He made the following summary. The great disaster in ancient times should have been that great battle, which almost caused the Great World Rune to collapse. The Great World Rune is the cornerstone of the world. Once it is damaged, it is not surprising that it would trigger a great disaster. The great disaster in ancient times most likely came from this. Almost all races and creatures perished during that period. There may be some ruins that survived, but not many. His profession and spells should have come from a certain race in ancient times, with the greatest possibility being the race that also manipulated skeletons. The road ahead is still full of mysteries. He can only move forward in the thick fog, slowly searching for answers. Perhaps, he will have to wait until he reaches the end, truly steps out of the fog, and turns around to look back before he can see clearly what happened. Mere speculation cannot be completely certain. In front of Area 7 to 10, Zhu Qiwu and the black-clothed man appeared simultaneously. The black-clothed man was like a black hole, absorbing all the surrounding light, making it difficult to detect his presence even at close range. Zhu Qiwu said, "Are you still planning to go see it yourself?" The black-clothed man's voice was deep and dignified. "You also know that the ancestors are very curious about this." Zhu Qiwu revealed a strange smile. "Yes, no one wants to die. Some things, don't say." The black-clothed man glanced at Zhu Qiwu. Zhu Qiwu smiled sheepishly. Understood. He didn't say anything more. He knew he had said the wrong thing, and he wasn't qualified to say certain things. The black-clothed man looked at Area 7 to 10 for a moment, then his figure faded, disappearing like a bubble. Zhu Qiwu knew that the black-clothed man had entered Area 7 to 10, and may have even entered the ancient tomb. The restrictions of Area 7 to 10 couldn't stop him. It should be said that all the restrictions of the Vermilion Bird battlefield couldn't stop him. Going wherever he wants is just a thought away. Inside the ancient tomb, outside the third passage, by the fountain, the black-clothed man appeared silently. A pair of bright lights lit up inside his black hole-like figure. His gaze swept across the fountain, and he personally saw the fountain re-emitting black water of death. It really is re-emitting. He was thoughtful. Many years ago, he had been here. At that time, the ancient tomb had just appeared, and the fountain was completely dry. Then he turned his gaze to the third passage. The thick black fog could not block his gaze. He clearly saw the 8 entrances on both sides of the passage. When he came here back then, there were no entrances. If there were entrances, they wouldn't have escaped his notice. With a flick of his body, he entered the pitch-black fog and randomly chose an entrance to enter. In the next moment, he appeared in the cemetery. His gaze swept over the cemetery, heading straight for the distant mountain. He had already learned about the situation in the cemetery from Zhu Qiwu, so naturally he wouldn't be as foolish as Lin Moyu, waiting for the undying flame to rise. He took one step, and he had already appeared in the cemetery. In the cemetery, there were God King cleaners, meticulously cleaning the cemetery. He felt the aura in the cemetery and spoke in a low, dignified voice, "The power of rules." There was a hint of displeasure in his voice. Among the God King cleaners, there were many human God Kings. Seeing the souls of fellow human God Kings being imprisoned here, he revealed a hint of displeasure. The aura on his body fluctuated slightly, and he took another step, appearing on the top of the mountain. He ignored the rules of the cemetery. The top of the mountain was extremely quiet, not even the sound of the wind could be heard. The undying flame had not yet risen. Only the huge coffin and the throne carved with skulls were quietly placed there, having been there for countless years. The black-clothed man lightly stomped his foot, and a vast force swept out, causing the entire mountain to rumble. Come out. Chapter 1292, The Legion Ruler's Debut. With one foot, the flames rose. The undying flame quickly rose from the bottom of the mountain, appearing on the torch at the top of the mountain, burning fiercely. Among the undying flame, there was a soul fire that was particularly dazzling. Compared to when Lin Moyu came, the soul fire had become even stronger. Hasn't fully recovered yet. The black-clothed man looked at the soul fire in the undying flame and said softly. The recovery of a strong person also takes time. This time may be a few days, or it may be hundreds of years. The skeleton general's soul is currently recovering, but it has not fully recovered. The undying flame burned fiercely, and the soul fire inside continued to jump. Suddenly, the black-clothed man's figure paused. His soul world was under attack. The same situation as Lin Moyu appeared in the black-clothed man's soul world. A huge skull roared at the black-clothed man. Without fully recovering, the skeleton general only had instinct. He instinctively felt a threat and then counterattacked. The skeleton general's soul attack was very strong, but the black-clothed man's strength was far beyond Lin Moyu's. He just snorted lightly, and the skeleton general's soul attack was dissolved. The black-clothed man looked at the burning undying flame and gently shook his head. In the next moment, his figure disappeared, appearing in the high sky. The entire cemetery was in full view, with 8 fan-shaped cemeteries guarding the central mountain. In the 8 cemeteries, a large number of God King cleaners were working. He reached out and grabbed downwards, and hundreds of God King cleaners were simultaneously enveloped by an invisible force, slowly rising into the air. At this time, the cemetery buzzed and lit up, shining brightly. A powerful suction force was generated in the cemetery, preventing the God King cleaners from leaving. The black-clothed man snorted with a hint of disdain. Although you are a treasure of rules, without a master, you are not qualified to fight against me. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly increased his strength. The space shattered layer by layer, and the light of the cemetery was immediately suppressed. The souls of those God King cleaners were all sucked into his palm, and then his figure faded, completely disappearing. The undying flame still illuminated the entire cemetery. The number of God King cleaners in the cemetery was reduced by a third. They were all taken away by the black-clothed man. Outside Area 7 to 10, the black-clothed man appeared next to Zhu Qiwu without warning. He held a ball of light in his hand, with souls inside. These were all the souls of the human race's God Kings. The God Kings who had disappeared over the years were brought out by the black-clothed man this time. Zhu Qiwu took the ball of light, carefully examined it, and couldn't help but sigh, what a pity. The souls had a dull look in their eyes, obviously their minds had been erased. Having one's mind erased is even worse than a soul injury, and it's basically impossible to save them. In the great world, life and death are normal, the black-clothed man's voice held no pity. Just as he said, life and death are normal in the great world. Even he might die someday. Zhu Qiwu was only sentimental for a moment. He put away the ball of light and asked, "Did you get anything out of him?" The black-clothed man shook his head. "No, he hasn't fully recovered yet." From his voice alone, one couldn't hear any emotion. It was as if it was an insignificant matter. Zhu Qiwu said, "Then wait until he recovers before asking him." The black-clothed man nodded slightly. The recovery speed is not fast, it will probably take at least a century. In the meantime, you can let him go to other places to take a look. Zhu Qiwu chuckled, "I also have this plan. That kid has good strength and good luck, maybe he can find some useful information." The black-clothed man hummed, "I just took action, and some old guys may have noticed it. I'll leave first." After saying that, the black-clothed man's figure shattered like a bubble, disappearing without a trace. Zhu Qiwu took out his chariot. With the warship jumping, he also disappeared. Less than 10 seconds after he left, an invisible force swept over, scanning back and forth several times before disappearing. Lin Mo called for another pot of wine, slowly drinking it, and gradually finished the dishes he ordered. His thoughts had been completely sorted out, and he had corresponding guesses about many things that happened in ancient times. Now all that was lacking was information. Lin Mo really wanted to understand whether it was the human race that fought the skeletons back then. It seems that next, I need to specifically look for tasks related to ancient times. Analyzing from the information currently available, there should be many ancient ruins left in the battlefield, and even characters who have lived since ancient times are hidden. Like the one in the 7 to 77 black hole pit, could he be a figure from ancient times? It's just a pity that I'm too weak. Lin Mo knew his own strength. In front of such big shots, he could be killed at will. How to safely obtain information became the first thing Lin Mo needed to consider. After eating and drinking enough, Lin Mo left the restaurant. On the road, Lin Mo constantly received gazes from everyone. He is a big celebrity now. Anyone who is often active in Fortress No. 1 basically knows Lin Mo. The top of the combat power list and the potential list, and the second on the contribution list. It has been enough to prove that Lin Mo is a top genius. Some people are already guessing whether Lin Mo will be the first on all three lists. Lin Mo constantly harvested the power of faith from the void, and the power of faith gathered into rivers, constantly condensing. The current situation is that if he wants to, he can step into the 8th order of true God at any time. But he felt that he still had some loopholes in his understanding of the laws, and he wanted to consolidate it further. Lin Mo came to the training ground and rented a training secret room. The door closed, and the training secret room suddenly fell into darkness. Immediately, the formation in the training secret room slowly started to operate, once again illuminating the entire room. The training secret room uses special materials with high strength. Coupled with the formation, it can withstand the attacks of the God King realm. At the same time, the walls of the training secret room can display the intensity of the attack, so that practitioners can use it to test their spells. Although the rent is not cheap, they are very considerate. Lin Mo rented the training secret room not to practice, but to transform the Lich General. Transform the Lich General into a legion ruler, so as to create a legion. First of all, he summoned Ruler No. 1. Ruler number 1, who was 10 meters tall and had bulging muscles all over his body, appeared beside Lin Mo, lowered his head, and said in a muffled voice, "Ruler number 1, greetings master." As he said that, he was about to kneel down, but Lin Mo quickly stopped him. Lin Mo looked at the wall not far away, use domination, gather all the power of the Legion, and attack the wall. Lin Mo's words were law. Ruler number 1 didn't hesitate at all, let out a low shout, and layers of grey light bloomed all over his body. The 100,000 skeleton dragons under his command roared in unison in the soul world. To gather all the power of the Legion, there is no need to summon the Legion, it can be used in the soul as well. Ruler number 1's aura continued to rise and soar, and grey-white flames began to permeate his body. Half a second later, Ruler number 1 raised the battle knife in his hand and slashed fiercely at the wall. The blade light illuminated the entire secret room, and heavily bombarded the wall. Attack intensity, God King 6th Order. Seeing this information, Lin Mo was slightly happy, and a look of satisfaction appeared on his face. The God King 3rd Order Legion ruler, after gathering the power of 100,000 skeleton dragons, can actually launch a God King 6th Order attack. Lin Mo was extremely satisfied with the debut of the Legion ruler. Chapter 1293. Spells with Autonomous Consciousness, Stellar. The God King 3rd Order can exert the attack power of the God King 6th Order, which is already very powerful. Although it can only launch an attack every 10 minutes, it is enough. He doesn't only have one Legion ruler, he plans to transform all the Lich Generals into Legion rulers. A full million Legion rulers can command a million legions. Naturally, it is impossible to have so many skeletons to hand over to them for command now, but what about in the future? Lin Mo has always been like this, preparing for a rainy day. Then Lin Mo tested the combat power of the skeleton dragon. Without joining the Legion, without the domination bonus, and without considering the bonus of the original spells. The skeleton dragon's combat power is at the level of God King 1st Order. It's not weak, but it's not strong in the Undead Legion. The Death Dragon Knight after fusion spells can reach the God King 2nd Order, and the Skeleton God General can even reach the God King 3rd Order. So there are not many opportunities to use the skeleton dragon alone. If it is to be used, it is to be used after they are fused with the Death Knight. But with the domination bonus, the combat power of the skeleton dragon has been greatly improved, reaching the peak of the God King 2nd Order, surpassing the Death Dragon Knight, and directly approaching the Skeleton God General. Now, if 100,000 skeleton god generals fight against 100,000 skeleton dragons with domination bonus, it will be difficult to determine the winner. The healing ability of the Legion ruler is too perverted. As long as they don't die, most of the damage can be healed in a very short time. Moreover, ruler number 1 itself can also launch a God King 6th Order attack from time to time, which is equivalent to a small skeleton king. The Death Dragon Knight has been eliminated, and has been eliminated by the skeleton dragon with domination bonus. Lin Mo couldn't help but have a thought in his mind. As his strength increases, the realm of the Legion ruler will also increase. The number of legions each legion commands will also increase. As long as the number of legions increases, the mutual bonus between legion members will also increase. In addition to the bonus of the 9-star spells, will it be possible to abandon fusion spells at that time? Maybe, a legion composed of 1,000,000 skeleton god warriors will be stronger than the same number of skeleton god generals. Thinking of this, Lin Mo was slightly excited, it's not impossible. He began to transform the Lich General. The undead flame exploded, and the entire training secret room was enveloped by the undead flame. At the same time, he divided his soul into strands and integrated it into the undead flame. Using his soul in the undead flame, he opened the spiritual intelligence of the Lich General and transformed into a Legion ruler. Fortunately, the domination transformation does not require too many souls to be separated, just a strand is enough. Fortunately, he is already in the true God realm now. If it was still the soul intensity in the small world, he would have to rest after dividing a few strands. 1,000,000 Lich Generals, who knows how long it would take to transform them all. The technique of transformation went from unfamiliar to familiar, and the speed became faster and faster. His soul was strong enough that he only felt a deficit after splitting off tens of thousands of soul strands. This feeling was very similar to when he sublimated his spells back then. His soul felt like it was being drained, and his whole body was weak. So Lin Mo Yu had already thought of a way to deal with it. In the small world, Antares helped him to do it. But now, Lin Mo Yu chose soul self-destruction. With a bang, his soul exploded, the talent giant tree shook violently, and 10,000 rays of purple light scattered. Lin Moyu's body trembled, and his soul was reborn in the purple light. The reborn soul was incredibly full, returning to its peak state. Lin Moyu, in the true God realm, had reached the third level of his supreme talent, and could complete a rebirth every 40 seconds. So Lin Moyu didn't care about consuming soul power. He used the same method again, throwing out large masses of undead flames, splitting off his soul, and continuing to transform them. Days passed, Lin Moyu wholeheartedly devoted himself to the transformation cause, ignoring the passage of time. He didn't know how long it took, but he finally transformed all the Lich Generals into Legion Overlords. At this time, the spell constellation representing the Lich Generals changed, and the spell constellation no longer housed Lich Generals but Legion Overlords. The Infinite Fusion spell constellation vibrated slightly, scattering light, and interweaving with the Summon Lich General spell. The spell constellation is different. Lin Moyu discovered that the Summon Lich General spell constellation had changed. The light of the spell constellation had changed, becoming brighter, and the spell constellation had also grown several times larger. Brighter and larger, representing the spell becoming more powerful. The Summon Lich General spell constellation had become Summon Legion Overlord. Lin Moyu was slightly shocked, which meant that in the future he could directly summon Legion Overlords without having to transform them himself. Infinite Fusion once again showed Lin Moyu its magic. It was like a high and mighty king, overlooking all the spell constellations. Normally it wouldn't move, but when there was a real need, it would take the initiative. Lin Moyu had suspected more than once whether this magical spell constellation had a self-awareness. Otherwise, many things could not be explained. Just like the last time when Shu Jiangxing took out the mysterious iron block, the Infinite Fusion spell constellation clearly expressed its desire. A spell constellation generating self-awareness, that was truly a ghostly thing. Lin Moyu had never heard of such a thing. Too damn outrageous. Temporarily suppressing the confusion in his heart, Lin Moyu began to allocate the teams. Now it was a state of too many monks and not enough courage, with a full 1 million Legion Overlords but only 1 million Death Knights. According to each Legion Overlord being able to rule 100,000, it was only enough for 10 Legion Overlords to share. There were even fewer skeletal dragons, only 500,000. In this way, only 15 legions could be formed. Not even the odd number of the 1 million Legion Overlords. Lin Moyu had a bold idea. He tried to get the Legion Overlords to rule the Legion Overlords. This would perfectly solve the problem of too many Legion Overlords. But unfortunately, his idea could not be realized. Legion Overlords could not rule Legion Overlords. It could only be said that his idea was too whimsical. There were a full 9 million basic skeletons, but that was only enough to distribute to 90 Legion Overlords. Moreover, Lin Moyu didn't want to move the basic skeletons. Now the skeleton god generals were still the main force, irreplaceable. The appearance of the Legion Overlords could only be regarded as icing on the cake. That was currently the case. First, the Death Knights and skeletal dragons were allocated, forming 15 legions. The legions composed of skeletal dragons were named Bone Dragon Legion, numbered 1 to 5. The legions composed of Death Knights were named Death Knight Legion, numbered 1 to 10. The Death Knight Legion's combat power was close to the 2nd level of God King, and the Legion Overlord could unleash attacks of the 5th level of God King. The Bone Dragon Legion's combat power was close to the 3rd level of God King, and the Legion Overlord could unleash attacks of the 6th level of God King. In this way, the combat power gap between the Skeleton God General and the Skeleton King was filled. The 15 Legion Overlords who had been assigned members, simultaneously bowed respectfully towards Lin Moyu. Willing to die for the master. Their voices were extremely pious. They were the most loyal soldiers in the world. No matter what the situation, they would not betray him. If Lin Moyu wanted them to die, they would not hesitate for a moment. After collecting the Legion Overlords, Lin Moyu took out the Scourge Scepter from his soul. Next, it's time to study the Scourge Scepter. As soon as he finished speaking, a message came from the Human Emperor Network. The message was sent by Yuzu, and there were only 3 words in the message: goods arrived. Chapter 1294. Materials from the La Galaxy. Lin Moyu checked the time and realized that he had been in the cultivation secret room for more than a month. A little over a month was neither long nor short. After all, for cultivators, every retreat was measured in years. Lin Moyu put the scourge scepter that he had just taken out back into his soul, and would find time to study it later. Now he should go to the trading center to meet Yuzu and pick up the goods. I wonder what kind of goods they have found, but they shouldn't be too bad. Hopefully there are materials of the God Venerable realm, so that the elemental lich can still play a role. Without good materials, the elemental lich was a pile of garbage. If there were good materials, the elemental lich would be able to exert an amazing effect. He had seen how strong the elemental lich was. During the skill demonstration, when that being's flame elemental lich came out, the enemies in the starry sky were covered in flames, and no matter how strong they were burned to ashes. The elemental lich was a true map cannon, and it was the kind that attacked non-stop. There were no useless spells, it just depended on how you used them. Compared to most people, he took the specialized route. In the end, very few spells would be retained, probably no more than 10. The truly powerful ones might only be 3 or 5. Lin Moyu wanted to raise every spell to the limit. None of his spells were useless, it just depended on whether he could discover the spell's power. Everything was because infinite fusion gave him infinite possibilities. The scourge scepter needs to be studied. Spell fusion also needs to be studied. And I have to do missions. There's too little time. Lin Moyu sighed in his heart and came to the trading center, and was led by the staff to the trading room in the backyard. It was still that gazebo, still the faint fragrance of iced tea, and the beautiful Yuzu was sitting behind the tea table, gently playing with the tea set. Today, Yuzu was wearing a slightly tight pink robe, showing off her beautiful figure. The robe was embroidered with lifelike flowers, but Yuzu was too delicate, and made the flowers on the robe pale in comparison. Lin Moyu was an old customer, and naturally walked in and sat down at the tea table. He drank a sip of the clear tea, letting the coldness explode in his body. Before speaking, "You seem to particularly like to drink iced tea." Yuzu giggled and poured tea for Lin Mo. "Isn't it because of the captain?" She meant the transaction of stellar essence fire. Her eyes seemed to have 3 points of blame, and a few points of playfulness. Yuju's temperament was changeable, and Lin Moyu didn't know which elder in her family she had learned from this time. The formation in the pavilion was activated, turning the pavilion into an independent space. Lin Moyu got straight to the point. "Have you found the materials?" Yuju took out 4 jade boxes and placed them on the tea table. God Venerable level materials are not easy to find. Lin Moyu smiled slightly. "I believe in the strength of your Yu family, and didn't you find them?" Yuju glared at Lin Moyu playfully. "We paid a great price to get them." Suddenly, she lowered her voice. "Captain, let me tell you. Actually, there are quite a few God Venerable level materials, but most of the materials at this level are controlled by the military or the Temple of War." Lin Moyu naturally understood. The Great World is so big, even if the output of God Venerable level materials is small, it wouldn't be too little when placed on the scale of the Great World. What's more, what he wanted was just a little bit, it was nothing at all. Look at the God Venerable level warships and fortresses, which one wasn't refined with God Venerable level materials. Similarly, God Venerable level materials are strategic materials, and it's normal for them to be controlled by the military or the Temple of War. If a rogue cultivator God Venerable wants God Venerable level materials, they have to pay a considerable price. Some precious materials can't even be bought with the price a God Venerable is willing to pay. From this, it can be seen that Yuju's family does have considerable connections, at least they can buy them. Yuju opened the first jade box, and then immediately retracted her hand. A burst of fire shot out from the jade box, and inside the box was a bright red gemstone. The gemstone was in the shape of a flame, and the most peculiar thing was that there was a flame dancing and burning in the center of the gemstone. The detection skill, which hadn't been used for a long time, popped up and landed on the gemstone. Star River Flame Crystal. A gemstone that fell from the Flame Law Star River, a God Venerable level material, can be used to refine flame weapons and enhance the power of the Flame Law. The result given by the detection skill surprised Lin Moyu. Things can fall out of the Law Star River. Lin Moyu looked strange. Yuju chuckled. There are many treasures in the Law Star River, but unfortunately they are difficult to obtain. Lin Moyu looked at Yuju. Tell me about it. Lin Moyu still lacked knowledge in this area. He came from a small world and only had level 4 permissions, so his understanding of the Great World was still limited. Although he already understood a lot, he still couldn't compare with Yuju, who had a family heritage in the Great World. Yuju chuckled and explained it to Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu finally had a further understanding of the Lost Star River. The Lost Star River is a place that only God Venerables can enter. Only the soul enters, not the physical body. Ordinary God Venerables won't stay in the Lost Star River for too long. They will use all their time to comprehend the origin of the law, and they won't have time to look for things in the Lost Star River. Only those powerful God Venerables will go to the depths of the Lost Star River to find treasures. The Star River Flame Crystal is one of the treasures in the Fire Lost Star River. But it's not to say that only God Venerables can obtain things from the Lost Star River. Sometimes the Lost Star River will manifest, and occasionally things will fall out. So the result given by the detection skill was also correct. As for how the Star River Flame Crystal in front of him was obtained, it didn't matter. Whether it was taken by a God Venerable or fell out by itself, it made no difference to Lin Moyu. 0. Lin Moyu was very satisfied with this material. How many points? He knew that this thing was expensive, and some things couldn't be bought even with points. He only paid 100 million points as a deposit, and he didn't know if it was enough. Yuju held out 4 fingers, 40 million points. Very expensive, but still within acceptable range. Lin Moyu reached out to take the Star River Flame Crystal, and Yuju exclaimed, "Wait." Lin Moyu stopped. "What's wrong?" Yuju said, "This is a God Venerable level material, and it has been soaked in the Lost Star River for so long, it has a certain spirituality. If you take it directly, the flames inside will burn you." So that's what happened. No wonder he retracted his hand so quickly just now. At this time, Yuju handed over a glove. This is a profound ice glove made by the Ice Clan. Wearing it can resist most flame damage. Lin Moyu smiled slightly. "I probably don't need it." As he said that, he had already reached out and pinched the Star River Flame Crystal. The flame crystal suddenly burst into a ball of fire, burning violently in Lin Moyu's hand. The pavilion was immediately filled with fire, and the temperature rose sharply. Yuju's pretty face changed drastically in fright, and she instinctively shrank back. Lin Moyu didn't seem to feel anything. The temperature of the flame was very high, but it was still much worse than Blue Flame Star. However, the flame contained laws, and the damage was stronger than Blue Flame Star. After all, it was just a material, and this law couldn't hurt Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu took the crystal in front of him and looked at it, feeling the power within it, a God Venerable level power, and was very satisfied. Not bad, 40 million is worth it. Chapter 1295. I hope you can do me a favor. Yuju's eyes widened, and Lin Moyu's operation once again refreshed her understanding. Even a God King couldn't hold the Star River Law Crystal so recklessly, right? The high temperature inside was not a joke. Unless it was a God King who was good at the Law of Fire, they would be so reckless, but Lin Moyu was clearly not. However, Yuju thought of Lin Moyu's various magical things, and instead felt a sense of normalcy. She drank iced tea on her own, cooling herself down. Lin Moyu admired the Star River Flame Crystal for a while, then put it back in the jade box and closed the lid. Yuju pointed to the second jade box next to her. "Captain, please take a look at it yourself." She held the iced tea, taking a sip every now and then. Lin Moyu didn't mind, half-jokingly, "Your service is not very good, I will complain about you later." Yuju seemed to have opened her eyes, widening them. "Captain, you can actually joke." 843, Lin Moyu chuckled and didn't respond. He was in a good mood now, so he would also make a joke. He reached out and opened the second box. As soon as the box was opened, a starlight shot out from the box. The starlight exploded in the pavilion, weaving a starry sky. Lin Moyu felt a strong law of starlight from it. The law of starlight is one of the most popular laws in the great world, and the number of cultivators is the largest. Many variations have also evolved from the law of starlight. Some people manipulate the law of starlight, turning it into weapons such as swords and shields. Some people also turn the law of starlight into a means of defense. Some people even use the law of starlight to set up formations. This is a second-tier all-rounder law. From the starlight woven above his head, Lin Moyu felt the taste of formation. He judged that this material should be related to a God Venerable who is good at formations. Inside the jade box was a round bead. The surface of the bead was full of lines, like runes and formations. Inside, there were 10,000 points of starlight dotted among them, flickering on and off, shining brightly. It seemed chaotic, but it seemed to follow some kind of rule. Yu said, this is a law bead condensed by a god Venerable. God Venerable Starfall used the law of starlight to set up a large formation, condensing starlight for 100 years, before condensing a few starlight law beads. This one, someone begged for a long time before. At this point, Yu suddenly paused, no longer continuing. Lin Moyu could roughly guess some things. What's the price? He thought that the starlight law orb before him would be a bit more expensive than the Star River flame crystal from before. After all, it took a divine venerable 100 years to create. Yu took a sip of tea and quoted a number, 60 million points. Lin Moyu nodded, okay. He could still accept this price. He earned points quickly, so he didn't value them much. Anyway, he could just earn more points when they ran out, and it wouldn't affect his permission level. It was important to be able to buy what he needed with points. Points that could be spent were real points, otherwise they were just a number. Yu asked strangely, aren't you going to bargain? Lin Moyu shook his head, you should have bargained for me. Yu's pretty face turned slightly red, her beautiful eyes staring straight at Lin Moyu. Captain, I just realized, your mouth is so sweet. Just telling the truth, Lin Moyu showed his straight man personality in the second sentence. He looked up and felt the Starlight Law Orb, which was actually made by a divine venerable level formation master. This law orb faintly contained the aura of a formation inside. He wondered what it would look like after becoming an elemental lich. Putting away the Starlight Law Orb, Lin Moyu looked at the third box. According to Yu's order, the materials in this third box should be better and more expensive than the previous ones. Lin Moyu opened the third box, and a pure white light illuminated the entire pavilion. Even the formation in the pavilion couldn't block the light, and a lot of it shone through. This was pure light, light without any impurities. It was like a flying arrow, rushing around the pavilion at an alarming speed. Yu giggled, Captain, you have to find a way to catch it. Lin Moyu had already seen the true form of this material. It was a beam of pure white light, about the length of a little finger, only a little thicker than a strand of hair. It glowed all over, and burst out the moment the jade box was opened. It couldn't leave the pavilion because of the formation, so it could only rush around inside. Its speed reached the speed of light, because it was light itself. The extreme speed created the illusion that the entire pavilion was shrouded in bright light. Lin Moyu heard Yu's voice, and knew that this little girl had known all along, and just wanted to see him make a fool of himself. Although the space wasn't large, the speed of light was too fast, and it was really not easy for ordinary people to catch. But for Lin Moyu, it wasn't difficult. If it was in the outside world, if a beam of light wanted to escape, Lin Moyu really couldn't do anything about it. But in this small area, red light fell, and the entire pavilion, except for the small area where Yu was shrouded in red light. Spell. Curse of Time. The curse of time was not only aimed at the soul, but almost everything in the world was within its curse range. The three spells merged into one, hiding the power of the law of time, instantly slowing down everything around. It didn't need to slow down too much. As long as it could slow down by one time, it would be enough for Lin Moyu to see it and catch it. The light was also cursed, and a red glow appeared on the white light. The red glow was like blood, covering it. No matter where it went, the red glow would be there. At the same time as being cursed, its speed slowed down. Lin Moyu was prepared, stretched out two fingers, like pinching a strand of hair, and firmly pinched it. The next second, the curse disappeared, and the light struggled frantically in Lin Moyu's fingertips. But no matter how it struggled, it was useless. Clap clap clap. Yu clapped her hands. Captain is really amazing, you can even catch this. Lin Moyu said, what would you do if I couldn't catch it? Yu giggled, actually, as long as you activate the formation on the jade box, this beam of light will obediently come back. It was precisely because of this restriction that Yu was not in a hurry at all. She originally wanted to wait until Lin Moyu couldn't catch it before telling Lin Moyu. Unexpectedly, Lin Moyu could even catch light. How many points? The material containing the law of light speed, and also at the divine venerable level, the price is estimated to be very high. Yu smiled, 80 million, mainly because the material of light speed law is too rare, things are valued by scarcity, Captain, you know. Lin Moyu didn't say much, and directly put the beam of light back into the jade box. The formation in the jade box was activated, restraining it. There was one last box. Before Lin Moyu could open it, Yu's delicate jade hand was already on the box. Yu Ju's beautiful face seemed a little tangled. Captain, I have something to say first. Lin Moyu hummed, say it. This material is a bit special. Once the jade box is opened, you can't return it. I can tell you first, the material sells for 100 million points. If you don't have enough points, our Yu family cannot charge a penny. Lin Moyu looked at Yu Zhu. How could there be such a good thing in the world? If he didn't have enough points, the Yu family could not charge a penny, and give him the material worth 100 million points. He knew there must be something else to it. Yu Ju's eyes were tangled. Actually, the elders in the family hope that you, Captain, can owe them a favor. Chapter 1296. Divine Venerable Level Spiritual Material. Oh, a favor, sounds nice, but actually they just want him to owe their Yu family a favor. Lin Moyu's current strength is indeed average. A large family like the Yu family must have divine venerables in the family. There may even be existences beyond divine venerables. But in the future, no one can say how far he can grow. It is possible to fall halfway, or it is possible to grow all the way, reach the divine venerable, or even surpass the divine venerable. What the Yu family is doing is actually an investment. If Lin Moyu really grows up, if something happens in the Yu family, his favor will be valuable. This is just a little bit on the surface. Lin Moyu thinks more deeply. A large family like the Yu family is very likely to have internal competition. Saying that he owes the Yu family a favor, he may actually owe the favor of Yu Ju's line. Lin Moyu's eyes changed slightly. He looked at Yu Zhu, with a smile that was not a smile. My favor is very expensive. Lin Moyu has confidence in himself, and the Yu family will not easily let him pay back this favor. 100 million points seems like a lot, but in the end it is just a divine venerable level material. If he really wants it, he can ask Zhu Qiwu to beg for it, and he may not be able to get it. And he doesn't like the Yu family's approach, but Yu Zhu said it before opening the box, so it hasn't broken his principles. If Yu Zhu said these words after he opened the box, it is estimated that his relationship with the Yu family would change in the future. Yu Zhu pouted, with 3 points of playfulness and 3 points of anger. I knew I couldn't hide it from the captain. I also told the elders in the family that although this thing is good, we can't open such conditions. Either don't sell it, or just give it away. What is this? Lin Moyu looked at Yu Ju's appearance and said in a low voice, actually, the elders in your family did nothing wrong. If it were a normal person, they would accept it. 100 million points is a huge sum for most cultivators. So most people would choose to accept it. But similarly, the Yu family cannot offer such a price to ordinary people. Using 100 million points to exchange for a favor without even a promise. What if they go back on their word? So, for the Yu family, it's also a gamble. Lin Moyu continued, perhaps your elders think I won't refuse. You also said it's a good thing. Even if I don't know what's inside, as long as you say that, I shouldn't refuse. But, I think my favor is worth more than 100 million points. Yu Zhu sighed, alright, then I'll take it back. She knew Lin Moyu only had 200 million points. After buying the first 3 items, Lin Moyu wouldn't have enough points. Lin Moyu shook his head, no need. Since it's a good thing, I still want it. Yu Ju's standards weren't low. The previous 3 items were all God Venerate level materials, and she hadn't said anything like that. For her to say the words, good thing, it definitely wouldn't be bad. Moreover, the price of 100 million points also represented that the grade of this item must be very high. With such a thing already in front of him, how could he easily let it go? Lin Moyu took the box from Yu Ju's hand. Yu Zhu stared at him blankly, not knowing what he meant. Lin Moyu didn't hesitate and directly opened the box. Black light flew out from the box, enveloping Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu felt a strange connection between himself and the material in the box. The material in the box was a strip of metal about the thickness of a finger and less than 10 centimeters long, shimmering with golden light, faintly tinged with purple. The purple light flowed continuously on the surface of the metal, like fish in water, swimming happily. The entire piece of metal exuded a strange spirituality, feeling like a living thing. At this moment, he understood why it was said that once the box was opened, it couldn't be returned. Spiritual material, indeed can't be returned. He quickly found information about spiritual materials in his mind. Spiritual material is a term for a type of material, not referring to a specific material. Rather, it refers to a material in which spirituality has been born, just like a weapon spirit being born in a magical artifact, which greatly increases its value. Using spiritual materials to refine magical artifacts can almost guarantee the birth of a weapon spirit. Once a magical artifact has a weapon spirit, its power will increase dramatically. It's like the longsword in Yu Qingru's hand, which is clearly a lower-grade God King Realm magical artifact, but can exert the power of a top-grade God King Realm magical artifact. Its value is higher than Lin Moyu's soul-slaying sword and War King Tower. If it were a God Venerate level spiritual material, and a God Venerate level magical artifact with a weapon spirit were refined, its value would be immeasurable. So, it really is a good thing, and 100 million points isn't expensive. However, spiritual materials also have a drawback. Because they possess spirituality, they will actively recognize a master. Moreover, the process of recognizing a master is extremely simple and crude. Basically, the first person to touch it, or even get close to it, will directly be recognized as its master. The material in front of him was like this. When Lin Moyu opened the box, its aura fell on Lin Moyu, and it had already recognized Lin Moyu as its master. From then on, only Lin Moyu could use it. Even if it were to be refined into a magical artifact, Lin Moyu would have to do it himself. If it were given to someone else, it would lose its spirituality completely and be no different from ordinary God Venerate level materials. Lin Moyu said in a low voice, to even be able to obtain spiritual materials, your Yu family is really amazing. The scarcity of spiritual materials is known to everyone in the great world. God King level spiritual materials are already extremely rare, and God Venerate level ones are even more difficult to come by. He didn't expect that the Yu family could actually obtain one. Yu Zhu explained, our Yu family is one of the few families in the great world that can create spiritual materials. It's just that the production of spiritual materials is scarce, especially God Venerate level ones, which are even rarer. Lin Moyu knew that Yu Zhu was right. God Venerate level spiritual materials were naturally extremely rare. Moreover, because of the special nature of spiritual materials, they rarely appear in the outside world. Basically, whoever obtains them keeps them. Lin Moyu was a little surprised that the Yu family could actually produce spiritual materials. This alone was enough to make the Yu family a major family among the human race. Yu Zhu looked troubled at this time. Captain, you didn't want to owe the Yu family a favor, but you opened the box. What should we do now? I don't have that many points on me, so I can't give them to you. Lin Moyu held the spiritual material in his hand, feeling a close connection with it, and said, I have enough points. Ah, Yu Zhu widened her eyes, unable to believe it. She had personally presided over every transaction Lin Moyu had made, and she knew very well how many points Lin Moyu had in total. Unless Lin Moyu had a lot of points before this. Lin Moyu said, a few days ago, someone came to challenge me and made a few bets with me, and then lost some points to me. Yu Zhu knew about this. It was just that she didn't know the specifics of the bets, and couldn't help but ask, how much did the captain win? Lin Moyu smiled slightly, not much, just 80 million. Yu Zhu was speechless for a moment, pouting her cherry-like mouth. What do you mean by, just 80 million feet? 80 million points is a huge sum for most cultivators. Unless they are God Venerates, they wouldn't disregard 80 million. She quickly calculated in her mind. The prices of the materials were 40 million, 60 million, 80 million, and 100 million. A total of 280 million points. Lin Moyu should have more than 280 million points on him. A look of joy appeared in her beautiful eyes. So, the captain has enough points. Chapter 1297. Only do what you can, and leave the rest to fate. Naturally, there were enough points. Lin Moyu still had more than 190 million points on him, including the 100 million deposit paid in advance. Lin Moyu's total points exceeded 290 million. The total value of the four materials was 280 million, leaving 10 million points after payment. Yu Zhu seemed very happy. Lin Moyu laughed softly. I won't owe your Yu family a favor anymore, why are you happy instead? Yu Zhu snorted. They are them, I am me. I just don't like calculating things so much. Moreover, if I really have difficulties, would the captain stand by and watch? You must know that I am your team member, your subordinate. As a captain, how can you ignore the life and death of your team members? Yu Zhu spoke with confidence, and this reason was undeniable. Lin Moyu smiled. Some captains will let their team members be scapegoats. Yu Zhu still had a confident look. I don't care what other captains do, anyway, my captain won't. Lin Moyu smiled. Let's trade. The process that followed went smoothly. Lin Moyu paid the remaining 180 million points and obtained the 4 materials from Yuzu. The transaction amount generated by this kind of private demand transaction will not have any military merit rewards. After the transaction was completed, Yuzu refilled Lin Moyu's tea. Captain, now that you've used up your points, are you going to take on missions again to earn them? Lin Moyu said, coming to the battlefield is just about taking on missions and doing missions, isn't it? These points are just byproducts of the missions. Yuzu curled her lips, others don't think so. Many people come to the battlefield to earn points. After all, it's much easier to earn points in the battlefield than in the human race's starfield. Everyone has their own ambitions. Lin Moyu suddenly thought of his mission. Do you know where I can get intelligence? Yuzu raised her eyebrows slightly. What kind of intelligence does the captain want? Our transaction center can not only trade items, but also trade intelligence. But some intelligence is military secrets, so that won't do. Lin Moyu said, I want to know which of the top 10 guys on the bounty list are in the battlefield, preferably specific to which area. Yuzu immediately understood what Lin Moyu meant. Captain, are you going to hunt them down? Yeah, there's a mission that needs to be completed. Lin Moyu didn't hide it. Yuzu thought for a moment, this kind of intelligence probably isn't readily available, and I'm not in charge of this area. I'll have to find someone to ask, and if there's any news, I'll contact the captain immediately. Lin Moyu nodded, okay, I'll wait for your news. In Fortress number 10, Zhu Qiwu was still sitting in the void. Since he came to the Vermilion Bird battlefield, 1,000 years had passed. In the past 1,000 years, Zhu Qiwu's main body had never left, and he had taken action only a few times. However, some high-level army officers in the battlefield knew that Zhu Qiwu actually had clones. His clones were very special, different from ordinary refined clones, and somewhat similar to the clones of the demon race. It is said that his clone came from the City of Gods, but Zhu Qiwu didn't say it, and no one would be so ignorant as to ask. At this time, Zhu Qiwu's clone was in a not-so-tall room in Fortress number 10. There were more than a dozen people standing in the room, all of them divine venerables, all from the fortresses, and even 2 legion commanders. On the table in the middle of them were hundreds of light clusters. Each light cluster was only the size of a fist, and each light cluster contained a soul. The souls were listless, with dull expressions, and had lost their intelligence. However, the souls exuded a weak aura, and each soul had reached the 3rd rank. They were once all divine kings, but now their bodies were destroyed, their souls were wiped out, and they ended up in such a state. Zhu Qiwu sat in the main seat, his voice low, everyone, is there a way? No one spoke, and everyone's face was ugly. Zhu Qiwu seemed to have guessed the answer long ago. In fact, after he got these souls, he knew it would be difficult to save them. But without trying, he was always unwilling. Most of these divine kings were once geniuses and were very smart. Among them, several were children of army elders and disciples of legion commanders, who were also considered members of the military. The military once had high hopes for them, but unfortunately, seeing that everyone had no way, Zhu Qiwu gently patted the table, so all the light clusters were collected by him. I'll think of another way. Everyone looked at Zhu Qiwu, their eyes glowing slightly, then I'll leave it to the Lord Guardian. They all knew that Zhu Qiwu's identity was extraordinary and that he had connections with those big figures. Maybe there really is a way. Just like Zhu Qiwu was able to bring these divine king souls back from the ancient tomb, they couldn't do it. They guessed that it shouldn't be Zhu Qiwu who did it, but a big man who took action. If Zhu Qiwu could do it, he would have done it long ago and wouldn't have waited until now. After everyone dispersed, only Ke Yuanjun and Bai Qixin remained. Among the hundreds of souls just now, there were Ke Yuanjun's disciples and Bai Qixin's only son. Bai Qixin respectfully saluted Zhu Qiwu, thank you, Lord Guardian. Zhu Qiwu waved his hand, I didn't do it, so you don't need to thank me. Ke Yuanjun asked, Sir, is there really a way? That big shot. He didn't say anything, as a legion commander, he already knew some information. That kind of big shot can't just take action casually, and there seem to be many restrictions. Zhu Qiwu said, you don't need to ask, I will find a way. If you can't save them, you don't have to be sad. Life and death are destined, and people die every day in the great world, you don't even understand. Bai Qixin nodded, if you really can't save them, it's fate. Ke Yuanjun sighed and respectfully saluted Zhu Qiwu, Sorry for the trouble, sir. Zhu Qiwu waved his hand to signal them to leave. In the empty room, Zhu Qiwu sighed, human power has an end. I can only do my best and listen to fate. When the voice fell, Zhu Qiwu's figure was no longer in the room. Lin Moyu came to the training ground again and rented a secret training room. This time he was going to summon the elemental lich. 4 materials can summon 4 elemental liches. Among them, he already had the fire elemental lich, but because his combat power couldn't keep up, he rarely used it. As for the water and lightning elemental liches, they had the same problem and were in an awkward position. Only the light speed elemental lich was still in use. The light speed AA La Halo allowed Lin Moyu's speed to reach 30,000 km per second, which is equivalent to 1/10 of the speed of light. But as Lin Moyu's strength continued to improve, this speed would soon be insufficient. Once Lin Moyu reached the Divine King realm, the speed of the wings of the undead would exceed 30,000 km per second. At that time, the light speed AA La Halo will also be officially eliminated. This is the limitation of the elemental lich, which requires a constant supply of new materials for them to grow. Without high-level materials, they would be difficult to evolve and would gradually become disconnected. Another reason is that Lin Moyu's own strength has improved too quickly. If the improvement was slower, the elemental lich could still show off its skills. Opening the first box, a ball of flames rushed out, and the temperature in the secret training room rose sharply. In the flames, the fiery red galaxy fire crystal was crystal clear. At the same time, a fire lich appeared next to Lin Moyu. Chapter 1298. The lich advances, the secret room is about to explode. The attributes of the fire lich naturally appeared in Lin Moyu's mind. Fire Law Lich. Grade. High. Growth limit. None. Fire Law Halo. The halo will cover all members of the undead army, and each attack will be accompanied by the power of the fire law, and all enemies will be burned by the fire law. This is a lich summoned with the Law Divine Flower, possessing combat power equivalent to the 7th to 8th rank of True God. It's a pity that the enemies Lin Moyu faced later were basically True God Peak and even Divine King Realm existences. It can't even be considered icing on the cake, at most it can be used to scare the enemy, it's not very useful. But it also has advantages, that is, it is based on the Law Divine Flower. The Law Divine Flower is a magical material, which may not be of high grade, but has unlimited growth potential. So the fire lich summoned with it is also called the Law Lich. The grade is as high, and there is no growth limit. The fire Law Lich quietly stayed beside Lin Moyu, waiting for Lin Moyu's order. A pair of jewel-like fire eyes stared unblinkingly at the fire crystal in the box. Its instinct tells it that this thing is useful to it. But without Lin Moyu's order, it would not take any action. Whether it's a skeleton or an elemental lich, Lin Moyu's order is always the top priority. Lin Moyu picked up the galaxy fire crystal, take it. The fire Law Lich received Lin Moyu's order and immediately stretched out its hand to take the galaxy fire crystal. It opened its mouth and swallowed the crystal, and the flames all over its body instantly exploded. The flames in the secret training room rose and burned violently. This small space turned into an ocean of fire. The formation in the secret room bloomed with strong light, firmly protecting the secret room from being destroyed by the flames. The secret room has special materials, which are extremely strong, and with the protection of the formation, it can withstand the impact of the Divine King realm power. Of course, if a high-level Divine King attacks with all his strength, it is enough to smash the secret room. The aura of the fire Law Lich continued to strengthen, it absorbed the majestic energy in the galaxy fire crystal, and began to transform and evolve. Lin Moyu was curious, to what extent could the fire Law Lich, which had absorbed the divine Venerable level material, grow? The Law Divine Flower brought a high grade and unlimited growth space. The rest can only depend on luck. God-tier materials have a characteristic, which is that they contain a certain law that has reached a state of perfection. This is originally one of the differences between God Kings and God Sovereigns, and it is the same for materials. God Sovereigns have mastered a certain law to 100%, completely integrating the law into themselves, into their souls, and reaching perfection. Wrapped in the law, the soul can wander in the river of laws. God-tier materials also mean that the laws they contain have reached this level. Lin Mo wished that the elemental Law Lich could reach the God Sovereign realm in one fell swoop. If that were the case, he could walk sideways. No God King realm would be his match. If there were enemies, he could set them on fire. But he knew that this was just wishful thinking and basically impossible. The gap between the God King realm and the God Sovereign realm cannot be easily crossed. The Lish's aura was still constantly rising, and the flames were getting stronger and stronger. Through the fire, one could see the attack intensity displayed on the wall constantly increasing. God King Third Order, Fourth Order, Fifth Order. The formation began to creak, and the entire secret room was shaking, as if it could not bear it. Lin Mo looked at the elemental lich, knowing that his improvement had not ended. At this rate, the cultivation secret room would definitely not be able to withstand it. But now the lich was at a critical moment of improvement and must not be disturbed. I still underestimated God-tier materials. Lin Mo was a little regretful in his heart. He should not have come to the cultivation secret room to improve. He should have found an empty void, so he wouldn't have to have such concerns. But thinking about these things was already too late. The key was how to deal with the current situation. The next second, he left the secret room full of flames. The moment the secret room door opened, flames soared into the sky, instantly illuminating the training ground in red. Clusters of flames, like a volcanic eruption, shot straight into the sky. Many people in the training ground saw the soaring flames, and their faces showed surprise. They could feel the amazing power from the flames, the power of the God King realm. Lin Mo rushed out of the cultivation secret room, closed the door, flew directly into the sky above the cultivation room, and shouted to the bottom, "Everyone leave here." Everyone heard Lin Mo's words, but not many people left. Instead they looked at Lin Mo curiously. It's Lin Mo. Lin Mo, who is ranked first on both the combat power list and the potential list. What is he going to do? Why does he want us to leave? I don't know, but he looks a little anxious. Lin Mo was indeed a little anxious. The cultivation secret room was rumbling, and it could explode at any time. At that time, at least flames of the God King's 7th Order would sweep this area, and the people here would be either dead or injured. Lin Mo really wanted to summon the skeletons and use swords to hold them away. Moreover, if the cultivation secret room exploded, how wide the range would be affected, even Lin Mo could not grasp. Lin Mo took a deep breath and continued to shout, "Leave quickly, there is danger here." Finally, someone listened to Lin Mo's words and quickly retreated a distance, but it was only 1,000 meters. This distance was not safe. And more people still stayed in place and did not leave. Lin Mo's voice became low, "Those who don't want to die, leave immediately." His words aroused rebuttals from others. Do you really think you are great just because you are the first on both lists? Is it your turn to give orders here? Do you still want to kill us? I'll just stand here, dare you do it? Is what he said true, or should we leave first? Everyone's reaction was different, but not many people really left. An old man in military uniform appeared beside Lin Mo, and a dignified voice sounded, "What happened?" When Lin Mo saw him, a look of joy flashed in his eyes. It was Marong Bafang, one of the elders of Fortress No. 1, a God Sovereign realm expert. With him here, everything should be fine. Lin Mo immediately told what happened in the cultivation secret room. Marong Bafang's expression changed slightly. He had already sensed the abnormality in the cultivation secret room below. The power has reached the God King's 7th Order. The formation of the cultivation secret room cannot bear it, and it may explode at any time. He shouted to the crowd outside, "Everyone retreat, retreat 10,000 meters." No one dared not listen to the elder's words. It was much more effective than Lin Mo, and they retreated one after another. Then Marong Bafang's sharp eyes swept over the other cultivation secret rooms. Other secret rooms will also be affected, at least hundreds of secret rooms will be destroyed. There were thousands of cultivation secret rooms here, arranged neatly like a military formation. Lin Mo's cultivation secret room was located in the middle. The formation of the cultivation secret room was internal and not external. Destroying the cultivation secret room from the outside was much easier than destroying it from the inside. At this time, most of the cultivation secret rooms had people inside cultivating in seclusion. If they were hit without any defense, they would be seriously injured or die. Lin Mo looked at Marong Bafang and thought to himself, "Then you should think of a way." Marong Bafang was indeed thinking of a way. His expression was solemn and not good-looking. At this time, the cultivation secret room began to rumble. Lin Mo felt that his elemental lich had reached the God King 8th Order. The cultivation secret room could no longer bear it completely, and it could explode at any time. Marong Bafang said in a deep voice, "I will first use the law to cover the secret room and suppress the power inside." Chapter 1299, Invincible in the God King Realm. Lin Mo felt that Morong Bafang's approach was inappropriate. Morong Bafang's suppression of the elemental lich with the power of a god sovereign was naturally not a problem. But the suppression of power would also affect the growth of the elemental lich. It was very likely that the elemental lich would not be able to grow to its best state. Lin Mo instinctively did not want this to happen, but thinking about it, there was no other way. At this time, the elemental lich was in a special state, unable to move, unable to leave. In general, his choice had been a mistake. He underestimated the god-tier materials and overestimated the cultivation secret room. It was said that it could block the attacks of the God King realm, but it did not explain that it could only block it for a while, not all the time. Now he had no reason to stop Morong Bafang. Just as Morong Bafang was about to act, a dignified low voice suddenly sounded in his ear, "Leave it to me." Morong Bafang looked over when he heard the sound and saw Zhu Qiwu, who had appeared abruptly. "Lord Guardian." Morong Bafang was shocked and immediately saluted respectfully. Zhu Qiwu waved his hand and looked at Lin Mo. "Boy, you are quite powerful." Lin Mo smiled slightly. "Not as powerful as you." Zhu Qiwu snorted and gently pressed his palm down. The majestic laws came from all directions, turning into huge walls of laws, blocking the outside of the cultivation secret room. The walls of laws were as solid as substance, instantly enveloping the cultivation secret room. Lin Mo saw a formation appearing in the void. The entire training ground was covered by this formation. Zhu Qiwu's laws were like peerless sharp blades, piercing through the formation and directly nailing it inside. It looked simple, but in fact it was not that simple. The formation connected the cultivation secret rooms into a whole, possessing powerful defensive power. Just now, Zhu Qiwu's laws directly broke through the defense of the formation. Morong Bafang could actually achieve a similar effect, but his strength wasn't as powerful as Zhu Qiwu's and would be blocked by the array. He might need to destroy the array first. But Zhu Qiwu could ignore the array and directly penetrate its protection. This was the difference between the two, a fundamental difference. Zhu Qiwu glanced at Morong Bafang. "You can leave now." Morong Bafang understood and immediately excused himself and left. Lin Moyu thanked Zhu Qiwu. "Thank you, senior." Zhu Qiwu lightly scolded, "Be more careful in the future." "I understand, Junior will." Lin Moyu didn't argue, it was indeed his fault this time. Once the cultivation chamber exploded, there would inevitably be casualties. Now, with Zhu Qiwu's law covering the area, nothing would happen. While sensing the increasingly violent power of the elemental lich, Lin Moyu asked, "Did Senior come to find me specifically?" Zhu Qiwu looked at Lin Moyu. "You're too confident." Lin Moyu smiled slightly and didn't reply. He knew that if Zhu Qiwu didn't have anything important, he wouldn't wander around, let alone come to Fortress No. 1. Since he came, it was most likely to find him. Zhu Qiwu looked at the cultivation chamber that was about to explode. "You're quite clever, how could you make such a mistake?" Lin Moyu laughed. "The god Venerable level materials were too powerful, I didn't expect it." "How many points does a cultivation chamber cost?" "I can compensate." Zhu Qiwu chuckled. "Aren't you afraid that I, a starry sky behemoth, will ask for a huge price?" Lin Moyu shook his head. "Senior's character is trustworthy." Zhu Qiwu said, "Help me with something later, and the losses here will be written off." Since the opportunity was given, Lin Moyu smoothly took it. "Thank you, senior." Boom! The cultivation chamber finally couldn't withstand it and exploded. The chamber became a powder keg, and the flames compressed inside burst into the sky in that instant. The law only covered the surroundings and not the sky. Under Zhu Qiwu's law, the flames had nowhere to go but to shoot into the sky. The flames shot up from the gap, stretching for hundreds of kilometers, forming a huge pillar of fire that lingered for a long time. Zhu Qiwu joked, "Not bad, almost reached the peak of the God King realm." Lin Moyu was also satisfied with this power, but in front of Zhu Qiwu, he maintained the necessary humility, far from being comparable to you. Zhu Qiwu said, "I remember you used this technique before, but it didn't seem very powerful then." Lin Moyu was in the stellar essence fire area, and Zhu Qiwu was following behind him, so Zhu Qiwu saw many of his techniques. Although the elemental lich wasn't very useful, it had indeed been used. Especially the light speed law lich, which was Lin Moyu's most frequently used lich, Zhu Qiwu wasn't unfamiliar with it. Lin Moyu said, "This is one of my techniques, which can use elemental materials to summon the corresponding lich. This time, I used a piece of galaxy law crystal to summon the fire law lich." He didn't go into detail, and he knew that Zhu Qiwu wouldn't ask further. As expected, Zhu Qiwu didn't ask further, but calmly said, "In that case, you should be invincible in the God King realm." Lin Moyu shook his head. "It's hard to say, I know some peak God King realm experts who can challenge God Venerables across realms. I'm more likely to lose against such experts." 0A seeking fresh flowers 0A. Zhu Qiwu lightly scoffed, with a hint of a smile. "Hey, you still have some self-awareness. Actually, between the peak of the God King realm and the God Venerable realm, there is another small realm that is not obvious." Lin Moyu hadn't heard of it and immediately said, "Please enlighten me, senior." Zhu Qiwu didn't hide anything. That realm is called the Little God Venerable realm, which is actually stronger than a God King, but weaker than a true God Venerable. A true God Venerable has a complete law. The law wraps around the soul, and can enter the law galaxy at any time to mobilize the power of the law galaxy. The Little God Venerable also has a complete law, but the law hasn't completely wrapped around the soul, so they can't enter the law galaxy and can't mobilize the power of the law galaxy. Apart from that, there is no difference between the two. But the Little God Venerable is still much stronger than the God King. No matter how strong your combat power is, as long as you haven't reached that level, you will still be somewhat lacking. 0. Lin Moyu understood the meaning. Zhu Qiwu was actually being very tactful. The Little God Venerable is not an obvious realm, but an unwritten realm divided by cultivators themselves. Cultivators who can become Little God Venerables can definitely become God Venerables. They have already completed the path to becoming a God Venerable and reached the gate of the God Venerable. As long as the time comes, the gate of the God Venerable will naturally open, and they only need to step inside. Yes, what the Little God Venerable lacks to become a true God Venerable is only time. So people in this realm, although not true God Venerables, are stronger than any God King. However, Lin Moyu had his own ideas. If his undead legion could reach the 9th rank of the God King, it would probably be enough to sweep away any Little God Venerable. Although there is a difference in the level of power between the two, it is not to the point where quantity can be ignored. The flames gradually extinguished, and the Fire Law Lich came into view. The Fire Law Lich looked like a ball of fire, a humanoid flame. It didn't have a real body, its whole body was composed of the Fire Law, and its size could be large or small. It could shrink to the size of a fist when small, and be infinite when large. As long as the power was sufficient, even covering the entire galaxy wouldn't be a problem. It exuded a vast aura, the aura of the 9th rank of the God King realm. Because it used God Venerable level materials, its Fire Law was already complete. It just didn't enter the God Venerable realm for some other reason. Lin Moyu didn't immediately check the attributes of the Fire Law Lich, but put it away and said to Zhu Qiwu, "Senior, please tell me what you need." Chapter 1300. Okay, I'll do what you say. The Fire Law Lich had completed its growth, and its attributes would not increase or decrease, so Lin Moyu was not in a hurry to check them. Instead, Zhu Qiwu's arrival must be for something. Zhu Qiwu chuckled, "Follow me." He followed him out of the Star Fortress, then jumped into a warship and, after several jumps, arrived in an unnamed void. It was silent and empty here. But Lin Moyu knew that it was not far from the Star Fortress and was still within the monitoring range of the Star Fortress. He could even feel a trace of the aura from the Human Emperor network, although this aura was very weak. In fact, he should have chosen such an unnamed void to summon the Elemental Lich before. Why go to the cultivation chamber? It was really stupid. Lin Moyu once again secretly warned himself that even the smartest person can sometimes make wrong choices. No one is perfect, he is just an ordinary person. While Lin Moyu was constantly self-alerting, a ball of light appeared in Zhu Qiwu's hand. The ball of light dispersed, turning into 100, scattered around. The balls of light rose and fell around Lin Moyu, suspended in midair, slowly drifting like bubbles. Lin Moyu saw the soulless souls in the balls of light. These are the souls from the graveyard. Zhu Qiwu nodded, yes. Lin Moyu scanned these souls, slightly surprised. He knew the situation in the graveyard very well, and even Zhu Qiwu probably didn't have the ability to bring these souls out. If Zhu Qiwu had this ability, he should have done it long ago, and wouldn't have waited until now. It seemed that a more powerful existence had taken action. If he guessed correctly, it was the mysterious person he had seen in the black hole before. He was surprised by the power of that mysterious person, who could ignore the laws in the graveyard and bring these souls back. He estimated that the mysterious person had also seen the skeleton general who was reviving, and he didn't know what the result was. Zhu Qiwu said, "Do you know why I'm looking for you?" Lin Moyu chuckled, "Am I that stupid? If he still didn't know why he was looking for him now, then he would be too stupid. The fact that I can heal soul wounds isn't a secret. Although not many people know, Zhu Qiwu is one of them. He just wants me to try and see if I can save these God King souls. As long as the souls can recover, reshaping their bodies isn't difficult for someone like Zhu Qiwu. Soul wounds and the erasure of intelligence are different, I can only say I'll try." Lin Mo didn't guarantee anything, the two were indeed different, and he wasn't sure he could save them. Zhu Qiwu didn't actually have much hope, just do your best. Lin Mo's gaze swept over the many souls, finally choosing a relatively powerful one. Lin Mo didn't know the other party's body, and their current identity was no longer important. He chose him because he was strong enough, and the quality of his soul had reached the peak of the 3rd grade. The stronger the soul, the higher the chance of recovery. A little white light emerged from his fingertips, and the law of immortality was almost entirely converted into the power of life, spreading like 10,000 fine threads, gently probing into the light sphere, wrapping the soul within. Gentle power of life slowly flowed out, entering the soul. Lin Mo felt the soul through the law. He was very careful, without the protection of the physical body, and without the entanglement of laws, the soul appeared very fragile. He was afraid that he would accidentally kill the other party. But gradually, Lin Mo's brows furrowed. The power of life can heal all kinds of injuries, whether physical or spiritual. But the soul in front of him was not injured. At the same time, Lin Mo felt that the laws in the soul had disappeared. In the God King realm, laws begin to entangle with the soul, merging with each other. Finally, upon reaching the God Emperor realm, the soul will completely envelop the soul, both inside and out. Only in this way can the soul enter the Lost Star River. But in the soul before him, there was no trace of the aura of laws. Although the soul still exuded the aura of the God King realm, the laws, like intelligence, had been erased. After a short while, Lin Mo put away his laws. Zhu Qiwu asked, "How is it?" Lin Mo shook his head, "There's no way, the soul itself isn't injured, my laws are useless." Zhu Qiwu seemed to have expected this result, the power of rules is indeed very troublesome. Lin Mo's heart skipped a beat, it was the first time he had heard of the power of rules. What is the power of rules? Is it a higher, more advanced power than laws? Is it a high-level power that can only be mastered after surpassing the God Emperor? However, Zhu Qiwu didn't continue, he changed the subject, "Although I guessed it would be like this, it's still a pity. These people are all smart children, we once had high hopes for them, what a pity." A pure white light emanated from Lin Mo's hand, and a light sphere appeared after a few seconds. The light sphere was composed of the power of life, similar to the light sphere he gave to He Rensheng, but not as condensed. Lin Mo moved a soul and threw it into the light sphere composed of the power of life. The light sphere rippled like water, and the soul in the light sphere seemed to have returned to the womb, and the soul without intelligence actually showed a comfortable expression. Zhu Qiwu's eyes lit up, as if he saw hope. Souls without intelligence cannot have any expressions. They are like vegetative people, manipulated by the rules in the cemetery, doing repetitive work. No joy, no sorrow, no grief, no happiness. But now, it actually showed a comfortable expression, which means they had feelings. What's going on? Zhu Qiwu looked at Lin Mo. Lin Mo said, "I'm just trying, if I use the power of life to warm them for a long time, is there any hope of them recovering? It seems there is some hope, but I can't be sure yet, whether the performance just now was instinct or really useful." Zhu Qiwu whispered, "Try a few more times." Lin Mo nodded, and he began to condense the law light sphere again. He condensed 10 more law light spheres and threw 10 souls into them. Without exception, the souls showed comfortable expressions when they entered the light spheres. But that was all. Lin Mo said, "It's still impossible to determine whether it's working, even if it does, it will probably take a lot of time." Zhu Qiwu pondered for a moment, "Having hope is better than having no hope, let's try it first." 4.1 inches okay, you say the word, and I'll do it. Lin Mo said this, but didn't act immediately. Zhu Qiwu glared at him, "You brat, you won't be short of benefits." Lin Mo chuckled, "You're thinking too much, I'm just thinking about how to make it more convenient." Zhu Qiwu snorted, "Is it really that I'm thinking too much?" Of course, if you really want to give the younger generation some benefits, I don't mind. After all, with your status, even a little bit leaking from between your fingers is a great wealth for the younger generation. Lin Mo took out the spirit he had with Antares and said flattering words. He just doesn't talk much, it doesn't mean he can't talk. How could Zhu Qiwu not understand? Stop talking nonsense, hurry up and do it. Okay. The pure white light became stronger and stronger, almost filling the small space inside the warship. A huge light sphere with a diameter of more than 5 meters was gradually forming in front of Lin Mo.